And in 3, 2, 1, hey, we are not dead. That's a terrible
Somehow.
opening. That's a terrible opening.
It is, but it feels apropos.
Yeah. So hi everyone. Hi, welcome to Somehow You Didn't Die on Your Way to Work, a transit industry safety podcast. We are your hosts who have not died on the way to this podcast, despite considerable effort otherwise. I'm Joe Zeta.
And I am the mushy, fleshy pile of goo that remains after several long weeks that used to be Zach Lybrand.
Yeah, I may sound perky and happy, but trust me, I probably wish I was asleep or dead right now because I have had a raging ear infection. This has not been fun for me either. So yeah, don't get ear infections, people. They suck. Feels like a sewing needle being stabbed into your head.
I had several ear infections as a child to the point where I have scar tissue on my eardrum that impedes my ability to hear certain ranges of sound.
That's so
They are
awful.
awful, and I don't wish ear infections on anybody. Maybe my worst enemy, but not many people.
Fun fact, I didn't have a lot of ear infections, but I actually have what one doctor referred to as athlete's foot inside my ear. So
Jesus, what?
I don't understand. It's been something that I've had, like, it's not even earwax. It's like dead skin. It just is in there. And we don't know how to make it stop.
Oh God.
And if
Oh
you
my
think
God.
that's the worst thing you'll hear in this episode today, no, it isn't. I promise you.
No.
But we're first, before we get to today's totally depressing and not at all cheery topic of the episode, we've got to go through the news. Jesus fuck. So oh boy.
This one is gnarly. So the plains of South Central Texas are very prone to flash floods, and it turns out that if you decide to put a girls' camp on a floodplain, bad things happen, as it already did in, where was it, 1978 and 1984, and apparently 41 years is about long enough for everybody to forget how bad the floods get. The fuck? Who sets off fireworks 13 days after the 4th of July? Never mind. It's Texas. He's setting off mortars above my house again.
That's crazy.
Oh my God. Well, Texas, okay. We like to live dangerously, apparently, which is why we forget that floodplains are a thing. The Camp Mystic Girls Camp was flooded out, and several kids and counselors died in the flooding.
And the owner.
Yeah, the owner actually, to his credit, died trying to help get people out of there. The death toll just for the camp is 27, and overall we're looking at, I think, 105 was the last count that I saw.
Yeah, this was last week because we are recording on July 17th.
It went up so much.
Yeah.
144.
Yeah, so this image is from like earlier last week, right after this happened. But yeah, this was bad. I should also point out, it also swept through a bunch of other vacation areas in the same part of Guadalupe. Is it along the Guadalupe River? So there was like RV parks and roads and things like that. Apparently there are stories of people in RVs and vacation houses and cars just yelling from inside of them as they're swept off down the river to die. This is bad. For those of us who aren't from Texas, where is all of this, like, in the realm of Texas?
South Central Texas, near San Antonio. It's closer to Mexico than it is to Oklahoma.
Okay.
and it actually is kind of not quite, but almost right in the middle, east west, um, over the width of the state.
Okay, so like middle Texas. Okay.
Little south of middle, but it's it's fairly. I mean, the whole area is Central Texas, as it's called for a reason.
Okay. And yeah, so this is just bad. It apparently, like, this county in particular did not try to buy I guess sirens that like could have been flash flood warning sirens. There was no like
Oh, I
'cause
hadn't heard that.
I had apparently the county, whatever the next county over has them, but this one didn't because there'd never been a flood, don't you know? Because you
Never.
know, and so nobody saw the need for it. I would think that they would have just had tornado sirens already, but you know, what can you say? It it's definitely one of these things that nobody is actually going to learn anything from, I feel. Like,
The fact that it happened twice before, um, ought to be an indicator of that.
yeah, it's one of these things where unfortunately it's like we want to go to someplace pretty. Someplace pretty usually involves being near water because, you know, verdant green stuff we're biologically programmed to think is pretty because that means life. And that's near the river, and the sort of soil here doesn't retain water very well. So then you die in a flood when it rains. And
Well,
even
if the soil gets too dry, it literally can't absorb the water,
yeah.
and it just everything just runs off of it, and that's how we get these flash floods.
Mhm. So so yeah, things are bad as per usual. Um there were some claims originally that this might have been that happened due to NOAA and FEMA defunding. As of so far, I don't think that's been confirmed. I'm willing to say that, like what I said in episode 1 about the air traffic controllers defunding and everything, not this one, probably the next one. There is probably at some point going to be just a, like, 10 years ago, this would have been caught because someone was sitting at a desk, but it didn't. This one, it's like I don't think people understand flash flood warnings except in when it's, like, really common. Like, you can tell someone it's gonna flash flood or it's gonna rain, they'll just be like, "So it rains all the time." And it
Ooh,
the
it's
Guadalupe River went up by, like, 23 feet in the span of 2 hours, and I'll say this, that's an incomprehensible number, and I think most people would view it that way.
and the Guadalupe is not a small river by any measure.
Yeah. So that's like if you told me it's going to go up in 23 feet in 2 hours, I wouldn't like, I would move, but I would be like, How? What does that mean?" And so
That yeah, that's not even like just move away from the riverbank a little bit. 23 feet over. I mean, the riverbed is there. If it goes up 23 feet, that means it's out of the riverbed. And to be able to go up that high means it's got to fill a lot of volume over relatively
yeah.
flat ground around the river.
Yeah, like 23 feet
And that's,
where?
yeah, that's a lot of water. And that's been a common recurring thing, uh, kind of through in the same general area as Tornado Alley. I mean, broadly speaking, flash floods are common, but very I guess you could say they're downplayed.
Yeah, it's like, for frequent listeners of this podcast, going back to the monorail episode, we all know that we can downplay tornadoes when we want to. Beca which I listened to the recording of that episode. You can totally hear the tornado sirens warbling in the background before I even hear them.
No shit.
And
I
then
think I missed that.
you hear me start to trail off as I'm, like, looking at my phone with text from my parents who are like, "There's been a tornado," so I'm like, "Okay," putting that down.
Okay.
Just
We'll just
not.
pretend that's not there.
Yeah, I if I stop now, we are never going to finish this episode. That'll be like a 2-week process.
So I would like to note that in true Texas fashion, there is a delayed and underwhelming response to this. Uh, FEMA has shown up, but most of the help has been coming from private organizations and donations to those organizations. Um, FEMA's helping, but it's definitely not as much as it could have been. Like, we're not seeing Katrina levels of response, proportionally speaking.
Did they send in
And
any auto racks yet?
they have not shipped anybody off to the FEMA death camps yet. I can confirm this. I got an auto rack in my train one day this week that I was not supposed to get. And instead of being loaded with people headed towards the FEMA death camps, it was just loaded with Kia Souls.
Oh, even worse.
It felt pretty bad. We were thinking about finding a way to unload it, but I took a closer look and saw Kia on the hubcaps and just went, nope, not worth it anymore.
But
And Ted Cruz was on vacation again. To be fair, he was already on vacation when it happened, but he did hem and haw and mosey a little bit coming back from Greece.
yeah, that's got to be the man has impeccable timing, does he not?
I mean, better. It's better than the freeze of 2021.
When he went on
He
vacation
was
afterwards, yeah.
when he went on vacation in the middle of it. He was already out. He was already out of state, out of country, over in Greece, doing whatever he and his family wanted to do. But it did take him nearly a full day after he received the news to get on a plane back towards the U.S.
Oh no, I have to give up my vacation.
Oh no, I have to be
Quickly,
responsible.
we have to sacrifice this person to the gods quicker than I hoped for. You want to know
Jesus.
something funny that my mom once said to me that I can't stop thinking about, which is that when during this was I believe during the first Trump term, but the less human that Jared Kushner looked, the more human Ted Cruz became. Because that was right when Ted Cruz started growing out his beard.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Jared Kushner just became more robotic and like soul sucked. Which clearly implies that
That's
Ted
a
Cruz was
weird relation, but it is like
well,
it is proportional.
maybe he's harvesting Jared Kushner's life energy.
Ugh, he's I don't know. He I think he needs a little bit more because the beard looks scruffy.
Oh,
And
did Jared
he's
Kushner
still
run out? Oh no.
Jared Kushner dies and we
Jer-
just all of a
Jared
sudden
Jared Kushner is
Ted Cruz starts looking worse again.
Jared Kushner is like run out of adrenochrome, so now they need to find a new one.
Oh. All right. All right. What do we got?
What's the
What's
next
Give
one?
me some more news.
Uh,
I love this
hey,
headline.
hey, TSA is ending shoe removal policy after what was it, 20 years? 22
It
years,
was more
something
than
like that?
20. Yeah. It,
Yeah. Uh, Interestingly enough, not sure how this is gonna go down at for TSA PreCheck because that was one of its main value points.
yep.
Additionally, it does seem like this was rolled out very inconsistently, like sort of like the fall of the Berlin Wall, where just somebody said that it was going to happen, and people started showing up. Apparently, these notices got sent to various airports one at a time. So, like, some airports were
Oh
doing it and others
no.
weren't. And so it just sort of, I think they probably just were like, yep, we're doing this now. Because,
So
like,
imagine being TSA and you're handling this crowd of people who have been, looking at their phones, scrolling through the news while they're waiting for the hour-long line
no, I think it
because
was,
they don't want to pay for TSA pre-check. And then all of a sudden this dude comes up and you tell him, "Hey man, you got to take off your shoes." And he goes, "The fuck I do, not anymore, TSA boy."
well, no, I think it got
And
sent out
that's how you
to,
found out.
I think it got it sent out to the TSA checkpoints. They just stopped telling people to take their shoes off. And so you get like this really inconsistent, like, we do. Like, that's so, like, we don't have to anymore.
Well, yeah,
It's,
but if it went out to different airports at different times, one of those somebody learned about this
oh,
through a passenger.
yeah, yeah, I can bet. If you work for the TSA, go fuck yourself, but also email us at sy. I'm not even saying the name of the email. We have it in the show notes. I put
Yeah,
it on screen for the last episode.
if you work anywhere above the level of the people that actually like check IDs and operate the machine, if you're not hourly on the TSA, go fuck yourself. Everybody else, I get it. You're trying to pay the bills.
Yep. Okay, so, do we have anything else for this topic? We're gonna blaze through these news.
Yeah, I look forward to not risking foot fungus every time I want to fly now.
Oh, I just have TSA pre-check. That
I'm too cheap for that.
Nah, I wear high top basketball shoes. I can't be taking those things on and off. That's a 10-minute process. So
Yeah, I made that mistake once.
yeah. Next one.
Suka Piet.
So this one, I really only included because A, I could make the surely the leopards wouldn't eat my face joke in Russian. And then also because this is the transport minister of Russia, so I figured that counted. But yeah, he died with a non-suspicious gunshot wound to the head uh, shortly after Putin got rid of him, presumably because he was telling Vladimir Putin that maybe this 3-day war should be over now.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know enough about the interior workings of the Russian state right now to give you a good thing on this. I just thought that it was funny. It's like surely the leopard wouldn't eat my face, and yet it did.
So I do like that they say a pistol was allegedly found with his body. So if it is staged, it was clearly staged to be a suicide. Excuse me. Um, but then it begs the
Self-unaliving
question: which there's three sides of his head that wouldn't be terribly suspicious as a suicide. Which one had the bullet hole in it?
the back. It has to be the back.
Three in the back again. All right,
Nape of the
y'all are
neck.
getting lazy with this.
Nape of the neck.
Oh my god! Classic Russian suicide.
I'm just surprised it wasn't a window.
Yeah, that's the other one. They do love defenestration.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, that's all I have for this one. I just thought that this was a funny headline. On to the next slide. Here's another one that I don't really have a lot of topic for, but in England for a long time, the post office was part of like transport. So again, basically, this is something I'd like to cover. I don't think we could ever cover it on here because this is more of a social thing than a transport thing. But yeah, for like 20 years, malfunctioning software at the UK post office basically meant that various postmasters and sub postmasters were deemed responsible for shortcomings in the tills that didn't exist because the accounting
Yes.
software was wrong, and so they were then accused not bureaucratically of theft, they were accused judicially of theft, were charged,
Yes.
sentenced, and then some people killed themselves. This is a software bug with a body count, and so which puts it up there with like Therac 25 in terms of like know your code, dumbass.
This I had heard about this a little while ago. The the fact that it was just a small enough amount of people to not really raise questions about whether or not it was the people, but the software is absolutely tragic. And people had their lives overturned and upended by these convictions, and then several took their own lives as a result of it. But even the ones who didn't, that conviction on their record definitely showed up on everything they needed for a background check, which it in this way the UK is eerily similar to the US in that they want a background check for every job you ever want to do and every place you ever want to live. So a lot of these people were measurably impacted by bad software, and whoever let that software go out without having a more senior programmer go through the code and test it properly, you're bad and you should feel bad.
Yeah, unless like it was an institutional failure, at which point there was supposed to be a senior coder that didn't do their job. At which point,
Or it was supposed to have a senior coder taking a look at it, and it just didn't because that job was made redundant at
it's
some point.
considering it's late 90s England, I'm willing to bet that this is, and I hate using the word neoliberalism because I think that that's just more a
Mm,
trite phrase that is overused. This is definitely one of those things where it's like, this is the lowest bidder who underbid way too much, and so they just did a bad
yeah.
job. This is much.
Yes, that
It's
that
kind of
that's
like
kind of
MCAT.
.com boom era where there's a lot of startups and a lot of people getting contracts that didn't quite know what they were doing.
Well, I don't think it was a startup. I thought it was like a major corporation that just underbid this or something like.
Oh, was oh god.
Hold on, I
Oh,
gotta.
that's even worse.
I thought it was a major corporation. Post office scandal. I love doing live research. Yeah, the system developed by noted small company Fujitsu.
Oh. Oh. They let that go?
Yeah,
Oh
700
no.
prosecutions carried out by the post office. Described by Rishi Sunak as one of the greatest miscarriages of justice in British history.
I just read that. Oh my god.
Yep, this is like
So
MCAT,
far,
actually.
only or by February 2024, only 100 convictions had been overturned. All right,
Yep.
you got to speed the process up on this one a little bit. You owe it to them.
Mhm. Yeah, this
Well,
is,
that sucks.
yeah, that I'd love to read, like, a fun like, I need to read this report, I just haven't had the time. But, I just wanted to mention this because I find the topic personally interesting. I just we probably won't cover it here because that's something neither of us are equipped for, but if you have knowledge of England and the post office in England, please do reach out to us. We could always have you on as a guest if you'd like to be a guest, but, if you're not crazy.
Look, you know what? After several hundred episodes of W2YP, they've kind of strayed a little away from some engineering disasters. It's not strictly engineering disasters. We could make this, okay. Here's how we make it work for our show. The UK post office had an underground rail
I
system
could
in
talk
London
about
for
mail rail
transporting.
for 2 hours.
So there you go. There's our episode, and we just kind of like we squish that down just a little bit, and then talk about the software
Like,
issue.
what? We have, like, it's like jingling keys in front of a child's face when you try to give them medicine. Like, "Look at the keys, look at the pretty mail rail." And anyway, here's the 700-page post office scandal. Well, look at the pretty keys, look at the pretty mail train. We could totally do that, but that's a discussion for another time. There's still more news. News keeps coming. The news never stops. There was a school bus crash in England today that I was watching the news about. Oh, it was bad. There's like a bus rolled over and went 60 feet down a hill. It was terrible. That may come up next week, depending on how newsworthy it is.
Right before
Right
we
before
started
we
recording
started
this,
recording, a kid
and
is
we didn't have time
a
to
kid
cram it in.
Yeah, at least one person is dead. I believe a child, unfortunately. Somewhere in the middle of goddamn nowhere, as of course it is. But, anyway, so we're gonna keep on going. Oh, yeah, this one's fun. This one's fun.
Sean Duffy, I will argue. I think I figured out the logic, and I can see how they're going to argue it. So allow me. Um, Sean Duffy was on television. I know that I know he's on some reality show. I never remember which one, but that's like how his name
He
got
was on
out
Fox,
into the
a
world.
Fox thing.
So because of that, the some of the receivers of that television show got it via satellite television, which means that images of Sean Duffy were transmitted to space, which technically means Sean Duffy has been to space. Therefore, he's fully qualified to be the administrator of fucking NASA.
Yeah, I was thinking that it was just that Donald was thinking, "Ah, yes. rockets move, trains move. They're the same thing, right? Or like
Same thing.
airplanes
Exact
and
same thing.
rockets are the same thing.
Rocket trains were a thing, so same thing.
There's a rocket train anime. I'm sure of it. He doesn't know what that is, but Donald Trump doesn't know what that is, but I'm sure that someone mentioned it. Maybe Baron Trump watched it and he saw it over his shoulder. But um
I just want to see Trump being introduced to anime and just sitting there. So you're telling me that this cute little girl, this gorgeous, adorable little girl, you're telling me that we can't call her cute, we can't call her adorable, we have to call her kawaii? What is that?
I'm
That's
not
not very
even
good.
the problem is that I feel like it would be the same way my dad approaches animated content, which is that it's for children and he wouldn't ever watch it. He dad
Just
dad
writes it off entirely.
Dad won't even watch like the Lower Decks Star Trek show because he claims it's for children, and he won't listen to me when I say otherwise. I'm like, come on.
Oop.
Which, by the
You know
way,
you want it.
Strange New Worlds season whatever came out today, so I'm gonna have to watch that at some point. Uh, but yeah. So I can't wait to see how Sean Duffy does with this. Probably poorly, but also, it should just be noted that Trump yanked his original nominee, as this article says, because that was one of Elon's picks, and you can't let any of your ex's
Yes.
stuff lay around.
No, and I kind of wonder if there's going to be like a forced absorption of SpaceX, take all the assets away from Musk.
Nationalization of SpaceX is going to be really fucking funny.
If we nationalize space travel before the railroads, I'm going to be so fucking pissed off.
That would just like the party of small business nationalizing the one of the wealthiest and like highest valued space companies in the world would just be the funniest fucking thing just because their owners had a tiff. That would be how you
Yeah.
actually get like one of those science fiction novel corpo states because Amazon just starts up its own army out of like just sheer
You know what?
what the
Yeah.
fuck is he gonna do next?
I I don't like living in the first chapter or two of the dystopian future sci-fi.
Yeah, which one is it? What Snow Crash? Is it? No, not Snow Crash. One of those ones. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I don't want to live in this one. Too bad. But too bad we have to. Anyways, so on to the next one. Oh no. Oh no, next slide. Oh no.
Yeah. That
So
you want
this
the
happened
UP to be even bigger
this
because they're about to be even bigger. Even though just a few months ago, it I can't remember who said it. Somebody was talking about how no, there's probably not going to be another mega merger. It
it
wouldn't
was
be
me. It
sustainable.
was us. We said that. But I would like to point out
I thought
uh
somebody at like the NTSB said
no,
that. No, not the
maybe.
NTSB.
But
God damn it.
anyways, just to give you guys some clarity, I did this semaphore article did get posted first and I read it first and then like the second note in a horror movie score, the Wall Street Journal article came out a couple of hours later, so I had to screenshot them in reverse order for this, but oh no. No, if two companies I would not think are good at running a railroad, Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern. Um this is not
The railroad that treats their employees the worst and the railroad that pays their employees the worst get together, and
and
it's
they
going
make
to
you
be a
poop in a
beautiful
bag.
black hole of horrible things.
And I what's even worse is that like a transcontinental merger, like it shouldn't actually be that bad because like they can't do the UPSP thing where they fuck up all their overlapping route structures, but at the same time, they're going to fuck up their everything somehow. Like I don't
Yeah.
like this I hope it doesn't work. I hope it doesn't work, but it's going to happen. Like this is just like going to occur at this stage, and I don't have like a real way of stopping it. Like
So the merger I think would be absolutely ugly, especially in terms of the logistics of making those two railroads one, we're already starting to see delays and general mayhem from the Canadian Pacific merger with the Kansas City Southern. That was months ago that they started trying to move their systems together into one united system, and we are still seeing delays in shipments as a result of that recovery process. That's not going well at all. Uh, and that's a relatively small service area as far as class one railroads go. Um, we're now talking about the largest railroad in the United States combined with the third largest, I believe it is. And
It's
we
really close, yeah.
we okay, if any of you paid attention in 1996 when the Union Pacific and the Southern Pacific merged, and the entirety of both former networks turned into a parking lot and shit didn't get moved for weeks at a time. All right, that generally affected the the Southwest and the West Coast. Everything else kind of sort of worked around it. We're going to see the same parking lot effect nationwide if these two get together.
Yeah, I can't, like, I don't even know how. The problem is that, like, they're gonna try and compete with trucks. That's what they said in these articles. But the problem is, like, how? What is the advantage that trucks have over trains is that trucks are willing to do the individual spot work that you won't. So
That's what I was about to say. You
what is
can't shed off all of your industry customers and expect to compete with trucks.
it's like, what are you going to do? Run an intermodal train from Los Angeles to New York City? It's like, congrats, they have boats for that. This is like the way that you run your systems at current makes no sense. Like,
It
it
it's
from
goofy. I mean, I just kind of hope that we get like investment bankers in here that try to do the same thing as they do with every other company they get their grubby little hands on, where they just try to milk it for every dollar it's worth and then throw out the empty husk of a railroad once they're done with it that only weighs as much as it does because it's loaded down with debt. And maybe then we can get some nationalization.
I I don't know. I don't know.
It's going to get real bad before it gets better. I know that.
I that's bold of you to assume it'll get better. Um,
It might be
I
real
I'm
bad for a century or two, but it'll get better. I'm
I'm
sure.
trying to think of better, and the only better I can come up with is, oh, they might run the 4014 by my house, and that's it. They might send the big
Yeah,
boy to my house. That's I can think of no other benefit to this. That's not a worthwhile benefit. I've seen the 4014. That's like, I don't need that to come near my house.
it it's cool, but that would be about it. Everything else about this merger would suck.
Royally. Yeah, I can't think of, like, a worse. No, actually, I think theoretically BNSF and CSX merging would be worse because that would imply that, like, they've fully give Berkshire Hathaway fully gave up on BNSF being like a 100-year investment. Also, with how oriented CSX was on the southeast for the longest time because of the Conrail stuff being, like, relatively late in their game plan, seeing what choke points developed over
Yep.
time, like not like Norfolk Southern at least has a couple of different overlap points because they've got, like, the yards in Alabama where where they can interchange through the old Southern Pacific lines. They've got Kansas City, they've got Chicago. They can at least do some of that. BNSF and CSX would just be such a weird fucking merger of, like, yeah, here's like 3 yards in Texas and 3 in Illinois, and that's about it.
So
Does CSX have any
As a
other like
reminder,
midpoints?
for for the country that's supposed to be all about small business and the party that wants to support that, in 1960 there were 106 class 1 railroads, and right now we're down to five
Four that are
five or
head
six.
four that are headquartered here, two that are Canadian. That's about it. Maybe we misunderstood this. Maybe it's the small number of businesses.
Six. I just had to write it down and count it out, but we're down to six from 106.
Hold on. CSX,
That's nothing but
CNSF,
pure corporate greed.
NS, UP. Are we CPKC and CN?
I got UP, BNSF, CSX, CPKC, CN, and NS. One, two,
Okay,
three,
so
four, five, six. Yeah.
we have four that are American and two that are Canadian.
Yep.
Yay!
We don't even get a lot of that revenue because of the two Canucks.
Nope. I mean, technically, they have to pay some form of tax because it's still. I think technically the Sioux line is still the U.S. like entity that they have on paper for some of this, but it's and then like
What the
although
fuck?
maybe I don't know. I know they bought the Sioux line, but because you can't have like U.S. owned corporations be owned by majority outside part. It's weird. I'm sure
What
that
the fuck?
it's some sort of like
I hate this.
fucked up tax thing, but because that like or fucked up like or ownership structure, but whatever. Who knows?
Legal loopholes make my head hurt.
It all goes. The money goes somewhere, and it's not to you. I can't wait, Zach, for Genesee and Wyoming to inadvertently become the only Class 1 left when everything else just gets sold off through a series of increasingly unwise paper mergers that involve more route cutting until we've got the America and Overseas Railway, a Genesee and Wyoming company.
I mean, if we so what we I kind of would hope that something similar ish would happen, because my proposal would then be to get all of the employees or all the train crew employees into one big fat ass union that we could then use to negotiate better contracts. Because
Oh
I
no,
mean,
I actually had a worse
my
idea.
my branch. Oh no!
So remember
Wait,
how like the nickel plate and the original wheel and Lake Erie were in that cloverleaf route, where it was like 7 different railways that formed one chain as the alternative to the New York Central and the Pennsylvania?
oh shit!
It's that, but it's all G&W roads, but so they all technically interline with each other, but each one of them is a different management structure and union.
Oh god, that's a nightmare. That's a nightmare
So
and a half.
like you're going from the Pittsburgh and Ohio to the Indiana and Ohio to the Indiana and North Chicago to the Chicago and to the North Chicago and Wisconsin or something like that, and just hopscotching your way across. And each one is like a BLET, SMART, BLET, Teamsters, International Bricklayers Union for some reason, and it just goes like that across the country.
We
You
got
get
the one that somehow joined the grocery store union.
yeah,
Okay.
You've got the Los Angeles Port Railroad, which is part of SAG somehow.
See, the thing is that they're actors because they pretend to be happy when they come into work every day. All right. All right.
Right,
All right.
we
Enough
got to go
chooch
on to the
talk. What do we
next.
got coming up?
Yes, accident report roundup. This is because we had a couple of major accident reports, preliminary reports come up in the last week or so. So I figured I'd just include all of these. So the big one, Air India Flight 171, the the big crash at Ahmedabad. This is the last time that we are going to hear unbiased and entirely factual reporting about this. I'm sorry to say. As of this week, it was discovered, it has been confirmed and like basically disseminated amongst everyone by the Indian Air Accident Investigation Branch that the captain of the 787 moved the fuel cutoff levers on the jet to off a couple of seconds after takeoff. Before they
Oh,
moved back into the run position about 10 seconds later, but that was not long enough. That
day
was
day late, dollar short.
we at current, we don't know why he did that. One of the last comments on the flight data recorder was the co-pilot asking him, "Why did you do that?" and him saying, "I didn't." So he's
Oh, that dude, he thought
either
he turned off like the little overhead light and
no
instead
no
hit
those
the crash
eith
the plane button.
either he had the world's biggest brain fart to end all brain farts, because those switches are near nothing that you would need to be touching at that moment, or this is an intentional act and he was just lying. Like, this is like something just flipped in his head and he decided he was going to kill himself that day. Uh, so I don't
Never attribute to malice what can be attributed to
no,
incompetency.
absolutely we can. I just it's narrowed down the number of possibilities to only incompetence or malice, and in accidents like this, it's usually in malice at this stage, because this is the captain. I should point this out. The co-pilot was somewhat less experienced, but not by he had like relatively inexperienced. He had like 3,400 hours total. The captain had like
Almost 3,400 hours.
the captain had 11,500. So he is at a point in his life where if he has brain farts like that, because also the engine turn off switches are like on spring-loaded detents, and like you have to do like a very
Oh,
specific movement to flip them up over the detent
oh,
and then move them, and you can usually only do it to one at a time. So for him to go one engine and then the other and turn them both off implies a really intentional act. So
yeah. I'm sure we're gonna see a very in-depth psychological analysis of a dead guy coming up here pretty
yeah,
soon.
and I'm imagining that at this point we're going to see probably a splintering of opinions, somewhat in a way that's
Oh,
similar
certainly.
to Egypt Air 990, maybe, which is one of the last ones where there was a big contested thing of like, did this guy intentionally crash the plane or not? Or or maybe like presuming that it was a intentional act, Malaysia Air 370, which disappeared.
Oh, yeah.
That's that's widely been assumed to have been, an intentional act on the part of one of the crew members, but we don't know. So, we'll have to wait and see for the thing. I'm anticipating there's going to be, like, a schism in the investigation at some stage, depending on how nationalist everyone's feeling. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
that's the one good
probably.
thing on this, is that this is an Indian crew on an Indian registered airliner. There's very little the US can do to actually, like, say about this other than like we know that it wasn't us, the end, we didn't install motors on the switches to turn the airplane off or something like that. The hackers didn't do it, but so I'm interested to see what sort of schism is going to form here. uh but anyways, moving on to our next item in this. The final report came out for Alaska Airlines flight 1282. You might know that as the one where the door fell off. uh
I'd like to make it very clear it's not supposed to do that.
It's not. Well, it wasn't even a door. It was the door plug for when there might have been a door. But in either event, nothing really new. We'd been learning about this for in bits and pieces since it happened. Basically, the door was taken off once because Boeing makes the airplane fuselages in Wichita and ships them to Washington on BNSF. At some point, it got dinged up a little bit during transit. They moved it.
Oh,
They removed the door panel when it got to the whole fuselage got dinged or something. I don't know, but they removed the door panel to do some work on it, and when it got to Washington State, and then the door panel was put back on, and then whoever was in charge of doing it that day put it on there and didn't put any of the retaining bolts back in. or put in very few. I don't remember clearly, but and nobody caught that, and it got signed off, and the plane flew for a couple of months. It threw a couple of pressurization errors, which is why, but nobody ever was able to track down the issue until the door popped off right after takeoff from Seattle. So yeah,
So
yeah,
somebody put that back together and literally did they always include spare bolts bit.
maybe I didn't get the chance to read it all the way through. I'm not certain whether or not the door plug, what happened to the other bolts, but basically they didn't secure it back on. So that's something that we might have to talk about in a future episode someday, because it's a whole thing in itself. But this is more of the Boeing stop stepping on your own dick challenge level impossible that they've been going through recently.
Yeah.
Things have not been going their way. And then finally, the NTSB released their preliminary report for the Mexican Navy tall ship. I apologize to the Mexicans on this. The Cuauhtémoc. Their tall ship
I'm not even gonna try. I'm gonna look that up.
Their tall ship / training vessel, it hit the Brooklyn Bridge a couple of months ago when it was leaving New York City. They haven't yet released even like a probable cause. It's more of just it drifted into the bridge and killed two of the sailors who were up in the rigging acting as lookouts. Tragic thing all around. No real cause yet. I'm assuming maybe a tugboat fuck up, but that'll have to come, and we'll have to wait for that.
Okay, for anybody that's listening, I do apologize for the very weird voice that just popped in and said hello. I was trying to look up a pronunciation video, and this guy apparently wants to do an intro to just how to pronounce a word.
Well, you've got to pad out the YouTube runtime, don't you?
Cuauhtémoc. 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 Okay. So this one is actually quite a bit of a tragedy because the two lookouts that were run into a bridge, which I'm still not quite really sure how that happened, but also that was a gorgeous ship to be torn up,
and it was fully lit too. It was there's videos of it. It was incredible to watch. It just sailed backwards, I guess, on the current, and it just it hit the bridge. It also hit one of the work platforms, like one of the Brooklyn, like they have like little traversers on the bottom of the bridge to do like spot work on it. Hit one of those too. Like $500,000 in damage to the bridge. I think more to the ship. So, but yeah, no, it's an unfortunate thing to happen. I don't know. We don't know yet what happened. But
if any of you are wondering why the Mexican Navy has a tall ship still in the fleet, the Cuauhtémoc is actually basically an ambassador ship. It's kind of like the USS Constitution in that it goes around and travels and generates goodwill, and is probably one of the most cushy assignments and deployments that you could get in the Mexican Navy. I actually had to look this up about 6 years ago when I went to Dublin, and when I was on the bus from the airport to the hotel that I was staying at, we did this one just super quick little turn on a street that was along a quay, and there was a fuck off massive tall ship in a canal with a giant Mexican flag flying, and it was like we did the quick little U-turn around that block so quickly I couldn't get a picture of it, and I could not figure out why I was seeing a 40-foot Mexican flag flying off a tall ship in the middle of Dublin. But it was because it was this. They just happened to be going to Ireland for, oh no, get some Guinness, give them some Modelo or something like that. Cultural exchange. Who knows?
Yeah, and every country has a tall ship. We have a couple. The one that most Americans might be more familiar with is the USCGC Eagle, which is the Coast Guard's sailing ship that's also a training vessel. A lot of countries have this. I think Argentina's got seized by a bank once because they couldn't afford because they were in like international debt to somebody. You know, there was a whole court case about that. There have been various things like that, but everybody has like a tall ship or two. It's a goodwill thing. But
Yeah, it's just they do it because it's cool and
yeah.
it's kind of a douche rock thing, which
Hmm.
it's one of the very few uh military things that I can truly get behind.
Yeah. And so finally, after how long has it been? Probably been like almost an hour again.
50 minutes, we're doing all right.
Hey. So now we can actually go on to the main topic of today's episode. Or themes, I should say. So this one is going to be a round robin of themes. Uh First of all, fire. Second of all, changing regulations and the enforcement of them, and regulations lagging behind reality. And I love that the template still has company name and date in there. I thought those didn't stick around. I thought that those would get deleted because I
Tell
didn't
you
put
what,
anything in there.
go back to the last slide and come back to this and tell me if it's still there. Because I
Let's
tried to sneak it out before you flipped over, and apparently I didn't get it quick enough.
okay. Let's see. Three, two, one. Nope, they're still there. It must be because I'm on
Oh no! Oh well,
presentation
we
mode.
tried.
Okay, but
We we never claimed to be professionals. We're just doing this for shiggles.
yep. So with anything, with all that
Where are we
fire
going?
changing we are going to Kentucky, he said with grim determination as someone who lives in a state that's not Kentucky, because this is the 1988 Carrollton, Kentucky bus crash. So so yeah, you want to talk about
That
the so
that bus doesn't look like it's doing too well.
no, this is a great black and white photo from a compositional standpoint, but the subject is one I'd rather not have existed. This is much like how Fox River Grove was a big one for grade crossing accidents. This is the big one for school bus accidents. This is a big one. So here's the short version. Head-on collision between a church bus and a pickup truck. The bus was engulfed in flame. 27 people die, mostly children. Okay, we can all go home now.
Ugh.
No,
Ugh.
no, wait, we have to do the long version.
I'm I'm feeling bad. I don't want to be here. I need adult.
Too bad, we are the adults.
Oh, again.
Yep. I don't know who allowed this, but it's happened to us. So so here's the long version. Uh so we're going to start off with the bus. As you can see, there's a lot of information here. So the bus is a 1977 Ford B700 bus chassis with a Superior coach body on it. Superior was a division at the time of Scheller Globe Corporation, which is one of those names you can only find in the 1970s. Um, it was a major school bus manufacturer for quite a long time. They eventually exited the industry in 1981. This bus in particular was previously owned by the Meade County, Kentucky School District as bus number 75 because that was still painted on the bus over a decade later. And in 1987 it was sold to the Radcliffe Assembly of God in Radcliffe, Kentucky. Um, shockingly for accidents like this, you usually expect there to be someone doing something wrong. The Radcliffe Assembly of God was not doing anything wrong. The church members had a number of uh, people on in the congregation who were mechanics, either at like Fort Knox was kind of local to where the Radcliffe Assembly of God is. So Fort
I
Knox
I
in
did
Kentucky.
read that they while they weren't completely neglecting the maintenance, they weren't doing quite as much as like the school district had been.
Yeah, they weren't like keeping it in like 100% shape, but all the stuff that the
But also
NTSB
they weren't
found,
using it 5 days a week.
yeah, all the stuff the NTSB found was like very minimal sort of issues, like some suspension bushings weren't perfectly in alignment, that sort of thing. Like
Yeah.
like
Nothing major
they
actually. Yeah.
this thing passed inspection. They had people who worked on trucks, worked on tanks, because Fort Knox was right nearby, and they generally just sort of they threw a new set of tires on it like the week before the accident, that sort of thing. So nothing
They tried.
really nothing really
They did a pretty
wrong.
good job.
Yeah. Um it the bus now interesting note for this, the bus was gasoline powered. Powered by the Ford FT Series V8, which if you've never heard of the FT Series V8, it's actually the predecessor to the Cleveland and Lima blocks, for those of you who are massive
Oh,
Ford guys. Uh, this
I've
is
heard of that.
this is basically what you would get in a Ford, like, pig truck frame at the time. The bus was built at the Ford Kentucky truck plant on March 23rd, 1977, which is a date that we'll want to remember for later, and was upfit by Superior in Lima, Ohio, shortly thereafter. One of the things that also is important to note, it had a 60-gallon gasoline tank located outside the frame, which is
Joe, is
definitely
that going to be a problem?
it is going to be a problem. Uh,
No, it
it,
can't be.
well, it's
No, no,
going
no.
well. I mean,
We don't need the gas tank inside the
if
frame.
well, it's not a problem if you option out the fuel tank guard, which Ford carried as an option at the time, but Meade County didn't select
They're
it.
they're just trying to
They're just trying
milk
to
you for every penny
yeah,
they
they're
can.
trying to milk you a little bit.
You don't need it.
Uh, so the bus had a legal capacity of 66 with 11 39-inch wide rows and a 15-inch wide aisle. So very tight quarters in there, to be quite honest with you. Um, the bus had two emergency exits, one at the back of the bus and one at the passenger side front, which is just the normal entrance and exit. I didn't realize that that was technically considered an emergency exit, but um, if you, I guess it technically is. As a
Any
note,
shelter in a storm.
yeah, and as a note, oh, there were provisions for if you didn't have a rear exit, you could have one on the rear driver's side, on the side of the bus behind the wheels. Um, I didn't never really know that places did that, but I guess some places optioned it. So you'll see that every once in a while. And then finally, this one's not as relevant, just more of an observation. The way this thing was geared, it had a maximum speed of 53.78, which must have just
I
been
can't drive a 55.
that must have been appalling to just drive long distances. Like, because this thing must because like
Just floor it and wait for it to catch up.
flooring, yeah, and it must be like this thing must be like on like it must just be making the worst noise as it like
Bouncing off the red line just to
like
try to keep up with the traffic on the freeway.
that they just upped the highway speed to 65 on. That's that's something I should note. The place where the accident occurred, they upped the speed limit to 65 fairly recently. So yeah, so all of this means that it's probably not a great ride for long distances, but it's a school bus, so you're only ever going to be riding it to school and back, so who gives a shit, right? Unless you bought it secondhand and now you're using it for differently, but even still, it's safe. It's fine.
Yeah, don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
Yeah, it runs, it
That top
drives.
speed is just
It's
it'll have to do.
it's 1987. Gas costs nothing. Gas costs
Yeah.
like 17 cents a gallon or something, right? They pay you.
Yeah. You want more gas? Hell shit, just put some more in the trunk. It'll be okay.
Yeah. And even look on this Superior Coach Division ad, it offers a ring of steel around the passengers, a network of steel members unmatched by any other bus. So, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Now we got to talk about the truck, which this is the raddest fucking thing. And it's a shame that it's it's the villain of this story. Uh this is just the raddest thing ever. It's a 1987 Toyota pickup truck, which is like what everybody wants, isn't it? Like as someone from nowadays, I want this. I think it's amazing. I want this brochure to like drive off the page Um, in 1987, it cost the equivalent of $7,200 to $14,000, dependent on uh, things like price, depending on options. So you could get it all the way up from like the base SR5 all the way up to like the DX with the double cab. I don't think you get the double cab, like the extended
Ooh.
cab. And that's the equivalent of nowadays of like 19,000 to 40,000. So pretty wide option range. Based on what I was looking online, it probably wasn't a base SR5. It was probably a more optioned up like DX or something a little bit higher. Like like one of the higher trim levels. But unfortunately, it was owned by Larry Wayne Mahoney.
Ooh.
Larry Wayne Mahoney is a good old Kentucky boy. He
That that is an Appalachian name if I've ever heard it. Larry Wayne Mahoney. There
Yep,
are 3 Y's in that name.
yep. Larry Wayne Mahoney is never Larry Wayne Mahoney is a high school dropout who has had, let's just go through all of which I would like to point out in case anybody's like wondering why I have like I'm reading this guy for filth. Literally all of this is in the NTSB report to give you an idea. So in 1984, Larry Wayne Mahoney uh, had a DUI charge where he blew a .16. Okay, .16 BAC, where he lost his license for 6 months and had a $300 fine made to take classes. In 1980, he had a terroristic threatening and disorderly conduct charge against his ex-wife, and the threatening charge was dismissed, the disorderly conduct was upheld. He had another disorderly conduct charge in 82. He was charged for hunting raccoon during closed season in 1983.
There's a
Uh,
raccoon season?
I look, man, it's Kentucky. I don't know. Especially given the next one, I feel like things are very weird around there. He was stopped for driving a motorcycle without a license at a DUI checkpoint. And when they determined that he did not have a motorcycle license, he then between when he was pulled over and when he was charged, when like he had to go to court, he got the motorcycle license and it was dismissed. And then I just realized I wrote this wrong. He crashed his motorcycle in October of 1984 during wet weather. So after he got the license, he crashed the bike in like when it was raining or something. Uh, in 1969, he dropped out of high school. He married in 1972, had a son, divorced the wife in 1979. In 1982, he married somebody else. He and his second wife had a daughter who has spina bifida. He declared personal bankruptcy in 1984 due to medical debts for his daughter, divorced the second wife in 1987, and it is now 1988. He is planning to remarry his first wife, living with her and his son in a trailer in Carrollton.
All right.
He
All
is a
right.
he is a pack and a half day smoker. He is currently employed at a chemical operator, which means he's basically running like mixing machines and everything at a local chemical plant. And he also has a duodenal ulcer.
That is the man I want handling my dangerous chemicals.
So he is probably in a non insignificant amount of pain on a regular basis because that hasn't
Yeah.
gone away.
Physical and mental. Holy shit.
Yeah, the
This dude's in a
NTSB
bad
actually
spot.
the NTSB listed all of this as like, yeah, he probably would drink and drive. Like this is just
Yeah. Yeah, this is a recipe for it. Yeah.
this is like doing your tarot cards and it's just like, "Sir, we diagnose you with alcoholic. You haven't even met me. I don't need to."
You don't know me. I know enough.
So so if we go on, then we have another car. This one again great, but for very different reasons. I fucking love old boats of luxury cars. It's a blue
Yes.
1977 Cadillac sedan DeVille, registered and
Yeah.
owned by an Ohioan in the state of Ohio. Not really an active participant in the accident, but it's mentioned thoroughly enough I would be remiss not to. And then, Zach, what does it mean wasn't even supposed to be here today? I didn't put that in here.
Well, I just have this strong feeling that for some reason the driver of this car was on the freeway going somewhere that they weren't planning to that day when they got wrapped up in this whole incident. So, in a nod to one of my favorite stupid movies, Clerks, I just kind of assumed that the driver wasn't even supposed to be here today, man.
Okay, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure because because I was like, I was like, did you read something I missed? Okay, no, I get you.
That's why I put unconfirmed on there.
Yeah. So, anyways, now we're gonna go on to trip. The trip is the So this map is from the NTSB report. Obviously, Kentucky and Ohio, Southern Ohio, Northern Kentucky do not look like this. Um, I I will have say I've been down both of these highways, and they are not just poorly photocopied squiggles. Although, and fun fact, right in here near the border is the town of Florence, Kentucky, which is notable only for the fact that they have a water tower right by the Florence Mall that just says Florence Y'all on it. That's their
Uh,
Florence Y'all. That's their one contribution to the local culture. But anyway,
okay.
so we have a date. We have a specific date now. Uh May 14th, 1988. The Radcliffe
Ooh.
Assembly of God is having their annual excursion to Kings Island. For those who don't know, Kings Island is a theme park. It's you ever heard of King's Dominion or Kings Island, Zach?
Actually, I have. King's Dominion is the one that I've heard. I had friends that like to go there when I was in school.
So Kings Island and Kings Dominion were Paramount's entry into the theme park age back in the 70s and 80s. They were still are theme parks now owned by, well, okay, it used to be Cedar Fair, now it's Six Flags because they've merged. But basically Kings Island is the second biggest theme park in the state of Ohio. It is the cultural roller coaster based cultural center of Southern Ohio. It's sort of where you go if you live south of Columbus and you want to ride a roller coaster all day. The north version is Cedar Point, which is up where I live. Uh, from Radcliffe, it is 170 miles each way, which just sounds unhinged. Just
At
absolutely,
at max
yeah.
53.78 miles an
At,
hour.
at, at
Yep.
54 miles an hour, basically, yeah. That's a 2.5 hour bus ride each way. So this is one of these things where fun is being enforced. Because like you are going to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, you are going to get there at like 9:30ish. There will be one bathroom break on the drive there, and then you are going to go on the roller coasters and enjoy the park until you cannot do that anymore, and then the bus is going to leave, and you're going to get back at like 11 p.m. and you have like Sunday school or something the next day.
If that bus driver went flat out all the way, like just peeled out of the parking lot and did 53.78 miles an hour all the way, that is a 3 hour, 9 minute trip.
Oh, buddy. Yeah, I'm gonna. Oh man. Oh God. Yeah, and that is. Oh God. I I remember with some terror the last time I did a drive through northern Kentucky. I think I averaged about 93 miles an hour through there in the middle of the night.
Jesus.
That was in a car that the windshield wipers didn't work and there was a thunderstorm on the horizon, so I was racing to get ahead of it. That was on ice. I did not lift between like south of Lexington and the Ohio state border. So I did I did really fast. That was a trip I should not have made, but that's a story for another time. Uh, but anyways, so the we're going to get into a more so the bus. Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. Despite the arduous nature of the 3-hour trip to Kings Island and the 3-hour trip back, the bus was at legal capacity. It 4 adults, including the driver, 63 children ages 10 to 18. Most of them were church members, but they were allowed to invite friends if they wanted to, so not all of them. Most of the kids were high school aged or younger, and it was basically exactly who you don't want to get into a bus accident, because it's like this is a busload of future going down the highway. It's not listed when they got there. It's not listed exactly when the like how long they were at Kings Island for. I'm just going to assume all day. Um, in any event, they left Kings Island at around 9 p.m., heading south on I-71. About 22 miles before Carrollton, they stopped for gas. The NTSB estimated this was around 3 gallons of gas at that point. So Zach, can you do some quick math? What's 22 divided by 3? Not a lot, I'm willing to bet.
Ooh, just over 7.
7 miles to the gallon that bus is getting. So they used around
Oh,
3 gallons of gas at that after that point, which means there's about 56 to 57 gallons in the tank. And now we get a specific location, mile marker 40.3. It reached around 10:55 p.m. So now we got to go on to
they are 2/3 of the way done with their trip, and it's almost midnight.
it's late. They're not going to be home for a bit. Some of them are not going to be home.
Sunday, they're gonna get a pass out of Sunday school tomorrow. I hope. I hope that was the plan.
I don't think so. But anyways, we've first got to talk about Larry. Larry. I got to give props to the people who wrote NTSB reports back in the day. This actually does get more and more concerning the more you read it, until you're almost like shaking your. Well, I'm shaking my phone, but I imagine you're shaking like a piece of paper, going like, "No, no, no, no." So, like,
It was an alarming amount of detail about Larry.
it was because so Larry worked the 7 to 7 night shift because I don't want to say because of course he did. Actually, the chemical plant basically had like a 2-week on, 2-week off sort of thing, where instead of 2 weeks on and then 2 weeks off, it's more of like you worked days for 2 weeks and then nights for 2 weeks, because it's
Yes.
the 70s and it's the 80s in Kentucky, and what's a labor union? That sounds gay. What do you want to what what do you want to do? Work with other men? Um, and so uh, he he went home, slept through the morning. According to his family, he slept less than 6 hours on average, which same. And usually drank 6 beers a week. Not same. Also, I put usually in the quotation marks because a 6 beer a week drinker could not keep up with this pace. There's
6
no
beers
way.
a week is just like one.
One a day.
You get a 6-pack. Yeah, you just have one before you go to bed.
I'm maybe like a 6 beer a month kind of guy, but
Oh,
I no, like even a 1 beer a day drinker could not keep up with this pace. This is not
I
sustainable.
full disclosure, I'm on my second beer of this episode.
I just don't drink. It's just not something I do it
Oh,
sometimes.
I've had some bad habits instilled in me.
Yeah, I mean I eat too much, so same thing. But so we start Larry's day sometime around 2 p.m. Where he was seen at a local bar drinking presumably beer number 1. It didn't say how many beers he had. Um, Between 3 and 3:30, he stopped by his parents' house to get his mail, because remember, he's living with his ex-wife that he's trying to remarry. Um, then he's seen between 3:30 and 4 at a different bar having at least one other beer. Um, Around 5 p.m., he made it to Burlington, Kentucky, um, and was observed to have where he was trying to hit up a female friend of his. So I don't know whether this marriage thing with his ex-wife was going to happen or not, but he made
Yeah, somebody wasn't taking it too seriously.
he made plans to meet up with her at 10. It should be noted that Burlington is an hour from Carrollton. I'm gonna go back one slide to the trip. You can see how Carrollton is in the middle of the map. Burlington is almost the state line with Ohio. Burlington's a fucking long way away.
It's a nice little hole.
So, not entirely. So he must have been really on the hots for that girl. But anyways, he met with, at some point he heads home from Burlington, met up with a friend near his house in Carrollton at 7:30, drank several beers and had pizza until 8:30. Then he went to a different friend's house where he met with that friend and a couple of other friends around 9. Exited the truck with a beer in his hand, was laughing and joking more than usual. And then I just want to read this excerpt from the NTSB report, because this basically is like the most ominous thing you could see. One friend testified that the pickup truck driver had wanted to meet a female friend in Burlington, but that he, the friend, removed the keys from the pickup truck to prevent the pickup driver from driving. The friend said that
All
he
right.
figured
Good
that
man.
the pickup driver would get stopped for driving under the influence of alcohol and that he would go to jail. The friend returned the keys to the pickup driver about 45 minutes later because the pickup driver
What,
said that he was only going to his home, which was a short distance away.
buddy,
However,
what are you doing?
the friend said that
You were right
the pickup
there.
driver left around 10 p.m. He did not turn into the roadway toward his trailer.
Uh,
Which is like that last line, he did not turn into the roadway towards his trailer, is just so fucking ominous in hindsight. And then you've got this last bit, which is that around 12:30 to 1 a.m., which is when he was tested, his blood alcohol content would be 0.24. And there is a cold, half-consumed six-pack in the passenger footwell of the pickup truck. Okay?
uh,
So he stopped and got beers.
and for those who don't know, 0.24 is 3 times over what is the legal limit in most places today.
Yeah, this is like how are you functioning levels of inebriation. And just to give you an idea of why this is all related off of like friends of Larry, Larry has no memory of what happened at any point during this day.
He was that drunk.
Larry has no comprehension of what he has done most of the day or what he will do later this day. So now we have the collision. So again, the NTSB report says it way more eloquently and way more ominously than I ever could. Meanwhile, about 10:30 p.m., the driver of a vehicle traveling southbound on I-71, about 9 miles north of the Carrollton exit, saw a vehicle northbound in the northbound lanes of I-71, cross the grass median strip, and change its direction of travel to southbound in the southbound lanes. The witness stated,
Oop.
"The vehicle's lights were on bright, and he followed me for a while at a distance. The next thing I knew, he came up right on the back of my car with his bright lights still on. Then he came around in front of me. There was a tractor trailer in front of me, and he was riding real close to the rear of the truck. The tractor trailer put his brakes on, and the vehicle would do the same. He was weaving to some degree, and he remained close to the rear of the truck." The witness further stated that when it did pass me one time, I saw Toyota on the tailgate of the pickup truck. The witness indicated that he passed both the pickup truck and the tractor trailer to get away from what he considered a hazardous situation.
Yeah.
The witness exited the highway at the Carrollton ramp, the 43-mile marker, where he stopped to get cigarettes and a soft drink, and then resumed traveling southbound on I-71. Near the 39-mile marker, the pickup truck, which was at this time traveling northbound in the southbound lanes, passed the witness, who was proceeding south in the right lane. The witness honked his horn and flashed his lights to warn the driver that he was going the wrong way, but the pickup truck driver did not react to the warning. The witness then continued south to a way station to notify the police. However, the station was closed.
Oh.
So what I'm guessing here is that Larry decided he was going to go back to Burlington and then maybe changed his mind once or twice. and then by that point got turned around and was in the wrong lanes of traffic.
Oh my god.
That's what I'm assuming, because he's going northbound in the southbound lanes.
Don't drink and drive. Jesus Christ.
Well, we're gonna talk about, like, why he even thought it was okay to drink and drive.
Yeah.
And then to continue on with the NTSB thing, a man and a woman in a van, motorist, traveling northbound on I-71 stated that they saw a vehicle traveling northbound in the southbound lanes about the 38-mile marker. They stated, the woman motorist stated, we watched the vehicle go down the hill. Cars and trucks were dodging the vehicle. We kept thinking the person they were going the wrong way and get off. About 10:55 p.m., near mile marker 40.3, the pickup truck struck the church bus right front to right front in the left southbound lane of I-71. The pickup truck rotated clockwise and struck the left side of a southbound Cadillac occupied by a driver and a passenger. The Cadillac, which had been traveling in the right southbound lane just forward of the bus, veered leftward, crossed in front of the church bus, continued through the median strip, and stopped straddling the northbound lanes while facing southeast. The driver turned the Cadillac around to face northbound and parked on the right shoulder. The Cadillac occupants stated they thought the bus had hit them. They did not recall seeing a pickup truck. So that should give you an idea
That
of
one
this.
made me curious.
Well, what I found particularly interesting, going back to what you were saying about wasn't even supposed to be here today for the Cadillac, that clearly implies that the bus was passing the Cadillac. Doesn't it?
I hadn't thought about that. Oh my god.
And the bus is limited to 53 and a half.
Oh, that old man was just tired and trying to get home.
Well, no, he's going south. He's trying to get away from home, I guess. Because Ohio's north.
Oh shit, you're right. Yeah, I forgot it. Registered in Ohio.
Yeah, registered. So who knows what this guy was doing? But either that or the bus is in the past. Either that or the bus is camping in the passing lane, and the Cadillac's trying to go around it on the outside. But in either event, it's a violent crash. Like you can see the very copy or burned description of the accident that the NTSB has put up.
So towards the left side of the image, there's that arrow that points southbound, and just to the right of that, there is what can best be described as a series of squiggles.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
I believe the series of squiggles is the pattern of the gasoline pouring out of the bus.
Oh, that would make sense. Okay, actually, yeah. So if looking at that Google Street View image, it looks like that curve is slightly super elevated. So yeah, the gas would run out towards the right lane. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, this is a fairly curvy bit of road. Like actually, I knew about this accident for a while because I'm the kind of person who reads Wikipedia articles all the time. But the one time I've been up I-71 specifically, you did just come around a corner and they have the signs that just say site of fatal bus crash. And you just sort of like,
excuse me?
That's why there's the Google Street View. See?
Site of fatal bus crash May 14th. Jesus.
That's all that it says. And it sort of pops out of nowhere because you're coming around this, like, it's almost like an S curve, but a very shallow S curve.
And that got a proper freeway sign, like that is a standardized sign.
It's on both sides too, because actually I saw it when I was coming north. That's why I have also a lot of NTSB report in here because I've only ever been north on I-71 because I was coming back from my trip to Texas when a friend of mine bought a car in Texas and we drove home in it. And so I've never been southbound on I-71 through this area. So I had to like flip it around in my head every time I've done it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is the site of the fatal bus crash. This is exactly what we would have been seeing. And yeah, if we go on to the next slide. Yeah. And one other thing I just want to mention, the driver of the school bus was up for about 17 hours at this point, according to the NTSB. He reacted in under 2 seconds to seeing the bus because he did attempt to brake. It's just to seeing the truck.
Seeing the truck?
Seeing the truck, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
He attempted to brake within 2 seconds, and just there wasn't any time to do that. Um, absolutely no real reaction time. So I do just want to put out there, as far as anyone's aware, the bus was relatively faultless in this accident. Uh,
And the report did mention a test that was done as part of the investigation where they, at the same time of night, they had a bus and a pickup truck out on the freeway facing each other and getting slowly closer and
yeah,
closer and trying to figure out where they could figure out that the truck was on the wrong side of the freeway. And if I remember right, it was somewhere between 400 and 600 feet out that the driver and the passengers, the quote unquote passengers on the bus, could determine that the pickup truck was on the wrong side of the road, which,
is
let's
like
see.
4 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, let's solve for time. We'll give them the benefit. 600 feet speed. We'll
54.
put that at, yeah, just give it 54. Time will come out in seconds. Hitting the calculator. 7 seconds to process that guy's on the wrong side of the road, which already is going to eat up a little bit of time when you're going, why is he on the wrong side of the road? And then you realize, oh, fuck, he's coming right at me.
Yeah, and then
And
you've
you got
got,
to brake.
and
So,
he knows that the Cadillac
yeah.
is right next to him, and he knows that and it's on a slight curve, so it takes it's a whole fucking thing. But in any event, the bus was doing 54. They estimated, based on the pattern of impact done to the Cadillac, like where glass was embedded in it and everything, that the truck was traveling somewhere around 55 to 61 miles an hour. So maximum impact speed of 115 miles an hour combined.
Oh,
And
I didn't account for the truck speed in that. So he had less than 7 seconds. He might have had like 2 or 3 and just reacted really quickly, but nowhere near enough to figure it out.
yeah, I mean, you can't do anything at that stage. There's no ability to do anything. And so, um, perhaps unsurprisingly, looking at the photographs of the pickup truck, considering this is pre-airbag on even the driver's side, or other things like crumple zones, crash safety protection, energy management, Larry is
Yeah.
seriously injured, as one
You
might
don't
guess.
say.
Yes, he does live, but
Unfortunately.
yeah, it's drunk drivers tend to live. It's one of those very interesting things.
Oh,
The
I hate the reason why.
Oh, it's because they're
Uh,
usually so drunk they go limp.
yeah, they're limp. They don't freeze up because they realize something bad's about to happen. It's fucking infuriating. That's why so many of them survive, and the people they smash into don't.
Yeah. It's also that, like, good old boys who drive drunk usually like pickup trucks. There's a reason why the Dodge Ram 2500 is one of the most common DUI mobiles. That's not a joke either.
This machine kills driver's licenses.
Well, actually, do they take driver's licenses away in Texas after DUI?
I actually think they took away. They stopped doing that.
Because in Ohio, what they do is they give you what's called a party plate, where if you get dinged for driving drunk X amount of times, you get restricted driving privileges just to work, and they give you a special license plate that's like yellow and red, so that
Oh my god.
it basically marks you out. They've stopped doing that recently. I don't know what they've replaced it with, but it's not any better. But
Apparently the answer is 4.
for what?
You can get busted for drunk driving 4 times before they take your license away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
What not having public transportation will do to a motherfucker. Which
For
actually,
real.
these this stuff we're talking about is relevant because we'll talk about that more in like the, why didn't Kentucky do anything about this? But um, going on more through the collision, Barry was seriously injured, but actually the bus managed to tank the impact fairly well. Um, the bus itself absorbed a lot of the impact. The front door was completely destroyed and impassable. The entire front axle and passenger front suspension was just gone. The axle was shoved 10 feet backwards, almost 10 feet backwards, almost 10 feet. I have it written here. It's 8 feet. The fuel tank, the front right suspension was ripped off. And most importantly, the fuel tank was damaged, pushed backwards, and punctured. Oh man, I
So
wish Meade County had options.
that in and of itself is quite a lot for the bus to take. And if that was all that happened, it probably would have been okay.
Yeah, most of the passengers were relatively uninjured. I bet that some people were wishing that Meade County had optioned the fuel tank guard, though.
Mm. And that's
And
why we get rules requiring that
yeah.
you have these sort of things because they know cheap motherfuckers will just skip over them.
Oh, we'll talk about that in a bit. But if we want to go to the next slide, um, so this is actually this is a bunch of different pictures that I've found from over the internet. So obviously we have the picture at the bottom left is just in the front-on view of the bus, showing just how like completely destroyed the front end was. Then on the other side, on the bottom, we've got an image of the front leaf spring suspension assembly for like a period Ford B series bus, which
Yep.
it is just a leaf spring. It's like the oldest fucking design known to man. You can still get it on a lot of cars today, on a lot of like trucks and stuff today, but it works.
Yeah.
Um, and then up top, you've
But it's
got
very stabby.
it is very stabby. This picture up top is actually really interesting. This guy on a random blog was restoring I believe he was restoring like a B series like dump truck and needed the front suspension off of it. So it's like, I'll get it off a school bus. He had to put the camera at the other fucking end of the bus than the one he was taking him off of.
Well, I mean, yeah, then how else are you going to show that you got a bus on its side to take the suspension off?
Yeah, but
It is a cool photo for a blog. I'll give him that.
yeah. But you can see here the fuel tank. You can see the step well in the distance and where the leaf spring would be. And then
Oh, it's
finally,
right. That thing is poised to
yeah,
have a leaf spring just blow through it.
oh yeah, and then you can see the uh the actual like the front axle and the suspension array. And this is an ad from Ford advertising the B series chassis, so you can see all the different bits of it. I think it's from the earlier in the 70s, but it's still the same thing. You can see the tank, you can see the suspension, the shock absorbers, all that sort of thing. And it's exactly where and you can see they've just put the fuel tank right outside the frame cuz why not? Makes it a little bit easier to install probably. But so yeah, by the force of
I,
the
somewhere they could just smack it on. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and so the force of the impact shoved the fuel tank. Okay, the NTSB wanted to make this clear. They weren't sure how far back it was shoved because it might have been during the recovery of the school bus that it got moved back that far, but the force of the impact allegedly moved it back 28 inches, which is a lot, which is a fucking lot. Um, but even if it didn't get shoved back that far, the leaf spring punched a hole through the front of the tank in an area that would have definitely been protected by a tank guard. Um, and then again, the NTSB wasn't sure what caused it, but either the either the sparks from the fuel tank dragging along the ground, because you can see if we go back to we go back a couple of slides to where the collision occurred, you can see where it says like tire mark, gouge, scrape, that sort of thing on it.
Yeah.
That's all from the leaf spring dragging along the ground. So
Ugh.
so they think that it was either the sparks from that or the leaf spring actually became heated up by that friction and then caused contact ignition. Either way, you've got a 3-inch hole in the gas tank spilling out 57 gallons of gasoline onto the ground, and it just goes up, like it just goes off. you know, it's bad, but
Gasoline is incredibly good at that.
yeah, but don't worry. I hear it gets worse. So now we have to talk about the fire. So first of all, we need to talk about the seats in the bus, and I draw your attention to this image down on the bottom left corner. Do you know what
That
that is?
advertisement is pretty rad.
It is pretty rad. Do you know what it is? That is the Naga. What is the Naga? I hear you.
So yeah, I was looking at that. The Naga is ugly, but his vinyl hide is beautiful. That
That
so
is
that little monster was what they made to advertise Naga hide.
Yes, it was. That is what they made that to
Look
claim
at him.
Naga was a real thing. They were covered in vinyl, in polyvinyl, like some sort of vinyl fake leather. I'm not sure of the brand name, but it was called out in a couple of things by name. It could have been Coro seal or some other sort of coated fabric. Here's a fun tip about Naga hide. For those of you who maybe fell into older TV shows during the COVID lockdown, like I did you ever, if you watched Columbo, you might remember frequent antagonist Jack Cassidy showing up in a couple of episodes before abruptly stopping? That's because he burned to death when he fell asleep with a cigarette in his mouth on his Naga hide couch.
Oh.
Naga hide's really not fireproof. Anybody who says that Naga hide's fireproof should be shot.
I'm I'm saying it's not it's fire resistant, not fireproof, and meant to resist burning long enough for an evacuation to happen. So if you're asleep and it starts burning, you're not going to know. You're not going to be able to evacuate because you don't know it's burning.
Oh, yeah, but actually, it's far worse than that even. So the seats are also stuffed with polyurethane, and not like the shit that's flame retardant. Basically, like, you know how like nowadays there are regulations on how long stuff can last before it burns? None of this would meet that. So
This is also the age where your children's pajamas could be made out of like pure nylon that would just engulf immediately.
Yeah. So again, we must come back to our favored villain of the week, chemicals that end in iodide or oride. So what happens is that when polyurethane and or Naga hide burns, it creates gases like hydrogen cyanide and hydrogen chloride, which basically turns your lungs to goo and burns your eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now
you will die inhaling that, and it will hurt. It will take a little while, and it will hurt every second you are dying.
You will experience what it's like to be a World War I soldier for about 2 minutes.
Oh. You ever wondered what it was like on the Western Front? Well, here, let me set this bus on fire.
Yeah, all quiet in the bus to the front. And so we have a couple of points here. So the top thing was was actually a standard that the state of Kentucky set on like fire resistant coverings, which specified Naga hide by name, which is why I put it in here. Not entirely they're trying, but I guess they didn't really foresee this as an option, as a possibility. Is actually really interesting. So while federal motor vehicle safety standards at FMVSS were considering that this was probably still a good thing, the Urban Mass Transit Administration, which had actually been conducting studies in a partnership with the Washington Metro on bus interiors. I believe after maybe a fire, but I can't remember. Um, and that they basically found out that visibility within the bus would be 0 within a minute of the urethane padding in the seat.
Oh, oh,
And that
that's bad.
so the UMTA knew, um, and then finally, fire tests conducted by Thomas-built buses on a similar school bus with similar upholstery to the accident confirmed that the flammability of the materials, necessity of rapid evacuation, and thick black smoke is produced rapidly from the combustion of polyvinyl chloride seat cover and polyurethane padding, and that hydrogen chloride was released from the material at a temperature as low as 250 degrees, which was before black smoke was produced. So
Oh my god.
basically, basically, if you are not running immediately, you could die. Like this is bad.
Jesus.
This is bad. Don't
That's
breathe.
fast.
It's not just like don't breathe this, just don't breathe. Just take one breath immediately and then just hold it and run out of the windows. Except, well, we might have some problems if we go on to the next slide. Um, so, so it gets really bad. We're gonna.
Oh.
So most of the kids had fallen asleep, as one might do after like a 10-plus-hour day at Kings Island. Um, this
I
one, the second point,
I did also see that some of the kids were, like, asleep in the aisle just so
yeah,
they could stretch out.
yeah, it's not clear. There's a lot of stuff in the aisle. There were coolers and bags and stuff like that. I'm not 100% certain on
A lot of
like
obstacles.
some sources made those seem like they were a lot bigger than the other ones. Like a lot bigger of an obstacle than the other thing. I think the main issue is probably that the aisleway is like one person wide the entire way down the bus. But
Yeah.
allegedly, and I say allegedly because I only found this one on actually an archived copy of, like, I guess the successor church to the Radcliffe Assembly of God's website. Allegedly, the first indication of anything being wrong for a lot of these kids was the church's youth pastor on fire in the bus stairwell.
Oh,
One
it's a bad
assumed
start.
that he had either like been thrown, he had been sitting presumably up front. He had either tried to evacuate out the front or to open the doors or something and had caught fire because gasoline was pouring into the bus through the front stairwell. So there's a dude on fire in the front. And keep in mind that like the
Well,
bus
that's bad.
the battery cutouts probably turned on whether or not it was intended to. So the bus is pitch black. It's 10:55 p.m. Your evacuation is being lit by this screaming man shouting
Oh,
by he was shouting something like go I'm going to meet God or something. So like imagine the most biblical form of horror show you can imagine is probably what this poor guy what these kids are seeing. Um
oh.
Even if that's not the case, fire is rapidly coming into the front of the bus. Um, Kids are fleeing towards the rear exit. Again, aisles are only 15 inches wide. I know that like that sounds like a lot. It's not. Um,
It's really not. That's
at the floor, they're only 12 inches wide because of how the seats stick out a little bit. The door at the back is 56 by 36 inches, which is 4.6 by 3 feet. Again, to put that into perspective, I am 6'3" and have a 50-inch waist. So that is I take up most of that doorway just by myself. So because of course
and it's definitely not wide enough for two people to get out simultaneously
no,
because I would I would take up most of that doorway by myself as well, and I
yeah,
have very different measurements than Joe.
yeah,
So you might fit two toddlers out of there simultaneously, and that's it.
yeah, and these are panicking high schoolers and middle schoolers.
Yep.
Um, the last row of and then, of course, the other thing is the last row of seats that doesn't have cutouts in it for the door, so that 12-inch aisleway is consistent literally until you're jumping out the back of the bus. Um, I know for a fact that there was a cooler inside the doorway, at least for a little bit, like just inside, like somebody had drinks in it. So that was another impediment. Um, And of course, there's no emergency window exits or anything, so, kids are trying to kick them out, but, they're not strong enough, they're just kids. Um,
Oh, those are
I
not designed to be kicked out. You're not gonna get them with any
I
reasonable amount of force.
I believe 2 windows were kicked out. One, I believe I said 2 kids in here, but I wasn't sure. One source says it was 2 kids, one says it was 1 kid and maybe the smallest adult chaperone managed to escape via windows, and then everybody else was going for the same exit at the back of the bus. Some kids were piling up in the aisle, some kids were crawling over the backs of the seat, but as we've already stated, Naga hide isn't fireproof, it's merely fire resistant, so everything is getting hotter. It's a metal bus body that's transmitting the heat very well. By the time the kids are getting to the back of the bus, the seats are already hot to the touch, like to the point so they're abandoning the seats and trying to get into to the aisle, which isn't big enough, so you're getting basically like a station nightclub fire sort of pile up at the back of the bus. And so you're
Oh,
having, like, kids piling on top of each other at the back of the bus. I believe one kid said that, like, basically a would-be rescuer grabbed his shoulder, put one foot on the bumper, and yanked him out from underneath the pile.
Jesus.
Like like this is seriously, this is a vehicle fire turning into a crowd crush. This is
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
the ghost ship, this is the station nightclub, it's all of these things. This lower picture is actually of one of the survivors of the bus. I've forgotten his name, but he bought an identical version of this, like, superior coach-bodied Ford B series, and so that's how narrow it is to get out. And
It's
pictures
so tiny.
it's got pictures of all of his friends who died in it, of course. So, you've got,
Oh,
like
Jesus.
and so you've got all of and so Naugahyde seats, urethane padding, narrow aisleway. It's would be impossible to get out. And um, the bus is fully engulfed in 4 minutes. And with a couple minutes after that, people stop coming out. Uh,
Oh,
of the
no.
of the 66 on board, 27 are dead, mostly from smoke inhalation.
Oh,
It's
that's
it's
bad.
grim. It's grisly. Like to like they don't even bother to give you an idea of how bad it is. They don't even bother doing recovery on site. They pick the entire bus up with a crane and they wrap it and they stick it on the back of a trailer and they haul it off to some local, like, building where they can take it apart and document each body as it comes out in place.
Oh,
Like, that's how bad it was. Like, under controlled circumstances. That's why there are all these pictures of the bus, like, somewhere else, because they couldn't deal with that on the road. And
oh,
this is bad. This is
that's
like
grim, dude.
yeah,
Holy shit.
this is really bad. I cannot stress exactly how bad this accident was, just 'cause man, it's fucking awful. Um, so now if we go on to the next slide, we're gonna talk about the FMVSS. So, in April 1st, 1977, 4 new or amended federal motor vehicle safety standards became enforceable in regards to school buses. Most notable of them, Section 571.301, which is standard number 301, fuel system integrity. It mandated, among other things, fuel tank cages and guards, specifically to prevent puncture and leaking in the event of an
Yeah.
accident. Remember when this
And
bus was
that's why
built?
leaving it up to the market doesn't work, because the free market will skimp and save anywhere they can, including on your safety. So we have to get the adults in the room and have them tell us, no, you have to put the safe thing on there.
Yeah, and do we remember when this bus was built? 9 days.
77?
March 23rd, 1977. It
Fuck.
rolled off the line 9 days before this came into effect.
Fuck. So
So
close.
This is so close. And a couple of the other FMVSS sections were woefully insufficient. Sta 571302 was for flammability of interior materials. Um, this was lagging both behind reality and the Urban Mass Transportation Administration, which is a sentence I'm sure no one's actually ever said before. Um, allowed for flammable and or toxic materials to be used in buses, despite clear evidence that toxic gases would emit within minutes.
Mi- Minutes is generous.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
not.
within minutes is technically correct, but that makes it sound like you have more time.
Yeah. Um, and yeah, it's really not ideal. And then standard 217 bus emergency exits and window retention and release. Uh, deeply insufficient for the needs of passengers. Minimum standard was at the time two exits, one front, one rear. And interestingly enough, there was a bit of an institutional. I'm not sure if this is a loophole or a lagging behind standards. School buses only required one exit at each end. If this had been built from new as a church bus, it even when it was a 1977 model, it would have had been required to have more exits because inner city coaches at the time had higher standards than school buses. I'm
Oh,
assuming that
that's weird.
there was that like at the time there must have been two different schools of thought around like Greyhound bus style things versus school buses, mainly because school buses probably went shorter distances in more urban areas. But I can't really say. I can't I can't like say for certain why this was the case. But in any event, it was there. It was there. They would have needed more exits had the school bus been built new as a church bus. Everything else remaining equal.
So close, yet so far.
Yeah, and then the other thing I just wanted to mention was the other one that was sort of enabled around this time was FMVSS 220, which was a rollover protection and like body safety standard, which not as relevant here, although because you can't design out a 115-mile-an-hour accident. I'm sorry, like, but still, just generally like this was like 9 days before that too. So, if this had been like a different kind of accident, who knows? Maybe we'd be talking about that. But again, generally, just wanted to make sure that was mentioned because, fun fact, it says all over the Wikipedia article for this accident that the bus was built just before four safety points, and then it just links to a page that does not explain itself at all as to what that means.
Oh, that's helpful.
Yeah, I had
That's
to
real
do so
helpful.
much digging and confuse the hell out of myself for all these identically numbered FMVSS standards that like made me go cross-eyed. Love that.
Notably, I did get a message from Joe while no, I can't say that. Can't say that. I was not at work when I got a message from Joe uh talking about how FMVSS was one of the worst things he's ever had to try to look through and interpret, especially over various timelines, as in where the standards had changed
Yeah, because
and what was relevant then.
you can't go back and look up the archives from 1977 because the website only goes back to the 90s, and it's like it is 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm not going to like even begin to figure this out. I'm just going to do my best judgment. You have to do the circle of reasoning to try and figure out like this source says here and then here and then here. Research is difficult. Why can't I just be omnipotent like Q on Star Trek and just know everything?
I oh, I would love that. I would love to be able. Well, no, I don't know. There is something fun about going down the YouTube or the Wikipedia rabbit hole, and
I just want to know everything. Or I don't know who, whatever.
just plug my brain into Wikipedia. Let me keep updating it, and we'll get the troll information out of there eventually once the actual article gets updated.
Hmm. It's get the once I I love and hate updating Wikipedia because if it's a non serious, I use the word serious in quotation marks article, nobody gives a shit. But if you try and update a subject that you know something about, you will run into someone who is like you from the dark timeline, who has even less social skills, who will then automatically undo your work because they don't like that you did it. I'm not bitter at all
Oh,
about the East Palestine derailment and the like electromagnetic breaks or whatever that stupid thing was argument that I got into an
yeah.
actual Wikipedia edit fight over because some people needed to be aborted as adults. So,
I I once got into a Wikipedia fight uh with something that I was intimately familiar with, and it was a section of the McKinney Avenue Transit Authority page that was talking about all the different streetcars they have in service, and they have one one car that had like the wrong build year on it by several years. And it's like, well, no, I have a book right here that tells me this, and this is straight from the people who owned it and who did the research on the history of it, and we talk about this every day, so I'm intimately familiar with this. It was built in X year, not Y, and it flipped back to Y within an hour of me changing it to the correct date. That was a nice petty little slap fight.
mhm, yeah. Everybody who uses Wikipedia more than me should get a life, and nobody else who uses it less than me should have an opinion. That's clearly what it should be.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep. I should be the only user on there who's allowed to do anything, says person who would never do
This
anything.
is my page. I
Yeah.
was the first one to edit it. It's mine.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, so this is, so if we go on to the next slide, we can talk about a very similar accident to this one.
Ooh, that plane
Uh,
is crispy.
British Air Tours Flight 28 Mike. This is the Manchester airport disaster from 1985. Very, very short thing because this is its own topic. Boeing 737-200 suffered a very interesting mechanical failure where the combustor cans in one of the engines basically exploded and caused a fire. The plane taxied off to the side of the runway, put the engines right on the windward side, the burning engine right on the windward side, so the fire was blown back into the cabin. It's an older 737, so it didn't have as many exits as one might be required to have now. It definitely didn't have aisleway lighting like you would on a modern jet, and had seat foam made of polyurethane, among other things. So the fire blocked the rear exits, and people struggled to escape. They were climbing on top of the aisles. They were running around. They're trying to find their way out, and a lot of people died, especially near the back of the airplane where the exits were blocked. Does that sound familiar at all?
Oh, that sounds extremely familiar.
Yeah, and so the aviation industry learned from this. That's why your flight nowadays has clearly marked exit lighting. That's why your airplane has a shitload of emergency exit rows for the airlines to upcharge you. That's why Alaska Airlines Flight 1282 had the thing pop off of it, because that was an option for higher capacity variants of the 737 MAX that needed an extra exit row. Yeah.
Oh,
It is, seriously, that's what they used for, like, really high capacity, like, almost 300-seater variants of the 737 MAX, is you need another exit row further back, because because you have to be able to
oh,
evacuate any commercial airliner within 90 seconds from start of accident to last foot on asphalt is 90 seconds, even the A380. So, because of shit
that
like this.
I want to see an A380 be evacuated in 90
They did it.
seconds. That sounds
They have
insane.
it on video. There was a documentary on the creation of the aircraft in, like, '05. So they filmed it. They really did. They hustled everybody. But,
That's wild.
yeah, like, actually, when they were doing the accident investigation for this flight, they actually promised people, the reenactors, money for whoever got out of the airplane first, and that that showed them really quickly that people were willing to climb over seats and things like that to get out first, and that sort of showed them like, "Ah, this is going poorly," because they all get bottlenecked up at the exit then, and some people get trampled, some don't. It was a whole thing. But so this is this is something that was going on at right around the same time. And that's why sort of everyone's like, "Huh, we should really be doing something about the flammability of seating material."
But communications between different governing bodies to learn lessons from each other is asking way too much.
Well, it's not even that
So
so it's not
a
even that
lesson
so
learned on airlines can't be applied to buses.
well,
That doesn't make sense.
that obviously, but also the real problem is that the bus in this accident had already been built for over a decade beforehand. So they for almost a decade beforehand, so nobody would have known at this case. Like, by the time the accident came out, the accident report for 28M came out, you would have had to have
So yes, but the FMVSS still didn't
it
have the changes for the seat material requirements until after 28M burned and we had an idea of what caused it.
well, I mean, the FMVSS had the idea in the 70s because I'm presuming the Urban Mass Transit Administration told somebody when they did those tests on the
Presumably,
Washington.
yes, but again, we can't have intra-agency learning.
No, not at all. Um, Actually, that is I don't know we're gonna go on to the next slide. I don't know if I included this, but one of the NTSB things that they, yeah, they did recommend this, is they recommended retiring buses made before the 1977 standard. So, um, no idea if that actually went through, but I'm assuming that it did just sort of generally as buses got older. So, they are starting to, they are starting to they did start to do that afterwards. And then this does bring us to the what did we learn section. So a lot. We learned a lot from this. Obviously, there were loopholes in the FMVSS that were closed. Uh, it increased the number of emergency exits in school buses dramatically. Just generally, school buses were required to have a serious number of exits in them, like usually between, I think it's like 4 or 5 per bus. Like you've got the window exits, or you have to have an overhead exit, along with the front and rear exits and stuff like that. Kentucky actually mandates 9, like, which is the most out of anywhere, presumably because they had this happen in their state. So, so you've got front, rear, side, top, and windows, which all sort of do that. Um, Another interesting thing that we didn't really touch on: gasoline school buses were banned in Kentucky and were generally banned in and were banned in other jurisdictions and have slowly been falling out of favor.
Good.
That's not as much a obviously Kentucky's ban of them, but a lot of places gasoline school buses had been on the decline already. Like Ford in 1977 when this bus was built was 98% gasoline school buses, and in 1988 when the accident happened it was um two-thirds percent, two-thirds of all of its buses were gasoline powered because gasoline was going up in pricing. These things were horribly inefficient, and diesel is cheaper and better for this application in a lot of instances because it's less refined petroleum. It doesn't really need as much. You don't need as much mechanical bullshit to go with it. It's easier to work on for that, and it works
So
better.
interestingly, this is another lesson that could have been learned from another source and applied to this decades before, um, when early railroad diesel locomotives were powered by gasoline. I have worked on a Brill motor car that was built with a gasoline engine, and it had the engine and the generator right next to each other, and it was just a recipe for disaster, and it was an accident waiting to happen. And thankfully the owner of that car, the Santa Fe, realized that that was not a good thing to have and converted it to diesel probably 35 to 40 years before this incident even happened. And Another safety reason why it is better to have vehicles like this be powered by diesel. The flash point, or the point at which gasoline will ignite, is around negative 45 degrees Fahrenheit. If you sneeze too hard at a puddle of gas, you could ignite it. Compared to diesel fuel, the flash point is between 125 to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Uh, and for our Celsius minded listeners, that's negative 43 degrees Celsius to ignite gasoline, and between 52 and 82 degrees Celsius to ignite diesel fuel. So that really raises the bar on how bad an accident has to be before uh, the fuel will combust.
Yeah, gasoline and diesel are wildly different beasts when it comes to that. Another thing with the railroad industry that I'm reminded of the Cuyahoga Falls Doodle Bug disaster, which was a PRR accident where they think a self-propelled rail car ran through a signal and got hit by a freight train coming the other direction because the motorman was overwhelmed by gasoline fumes because those things were never
Oh,
well ventilated.
Jesus.
43 people died when the lead locomotive of the freight train went through the entire doodle bug.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, gas is nasty stuff. I'm shocked that we still use it in cars.
And then do you want to hear a fun diesel flashpoint story I read once in one of those remember the Uncle John's bathroom readers from that were all the
Absolutely.
this was in an old
I
one
have
that like
3 sitting next to my
I
toilet right now.
I have like 10 of them. I read them all in school, but um there there was a story in one of them where apparently like on Letterman back in the 80s or 90s, a guy went on Letterman who was like one of those like magicians or something, and he had like a little petri dish full of diesel, and he put out Letterman's cigar into it, and it didn't do anything because
Yeah.
diesel doesn't ignite like that. So the next day, one of the guys who watched it went into work to show his friends the same thing. And here's the problem is, and it's not stated exactly where he worked, but he worked building diesel locomotives in Erie, Pennsylvania. So let's all make a logical leap here as to where he worked. But he was like, "Hey guys, do you want to do this?" And he went to a puddle of diesel on the ground and stuck a road flare into it.
Oh,
It did not go as planned. I have no idea
no.
if that is an actual story or one that just happened to get made up enough times that it became popular lore, but I hope it's real. That seems like something that would happen on the GE line in the 80s.
So the I have a similar story, which is where I first learned about the difference in flashpoints. Growing up, I was always rightfully taught to not have open flames near where you're refueling a vehicle. And of course, my experience was around cars and gasoline. So there's a very good reason for that. And I even remember my mom yelling at my grandfather for uh, trying to smoke a cigarette while he was filling his car. So fast forward, who knows how long, I was at the Grand Canyon Railway and I was refueling a locomotive. We were putting diesel fuel in it. And while we're just standing there and hanging out, one of my coworkers lit up a cigarette. So I went, "Hey man, what the fuck is that?" And he goes, "Don't worry about it." And I said, "What do you mean don't worry about it? You trying to kill us all?" And he goes, "I'm telling you, don't worry about it." So I got mad. I tried to swat the cigarette right out of his hand and he yanked it back and he goes, "Don't you dare touch my smokes. The flashpoint of this of diesel fuel is way higher than what this cigarette burns at." And I said, "Bullshit." And he goes, "Go in there and look right now." And I walked into the shop, got on a computer, which for some reason Xanterra Parks and Resorts didn't have an internet filter on. And I was able to just Google right there the flashpoints and what temperature a cigarette burns at. And I was stoutly proven wrong. And that's why from then on, I didn't smoke right next to where we were fueling, but I also didn't go like a quarter of a mile away to smoke anymore. I'd stand off about 30 or 40 feet.
I I just love that this guy was right, but he had to be such an asshole about it. That's like the Like, he could have just said
Rooster
it.
Rooster was an asshole, like, deep down to his very core. That's like, Rooster was born and he just came he wasn't born the normal way. He just came out of an asshole and thus was an asshole.
Oh god. You know when his name is Rooster, you know that he's gotta be a giant cock.
Oh, absolutely.
But, but yeah. So, just going through the what did we learn sections on this, yeah, what else is there? Kentucky also requires stronger frames and bodies on buses. And then, what else? Yeah, increased drunk driving penalties nationwide, especially in Kentucky. That's a district by district thing, so we can't really talk about them in any specifics. But generally, like, something that we wanted to note, like, if you remember when we were talking about Larry all the way back, he got busted for drunk driving before and did not really get a big penalty. He lost his license for 6 months. That's not
And also, his friend took away his keys at the bar that night. And when Larry was like, "No, dude, I'm just going home," his buddy's like, "Okay, I guess that's fine."
yeah,
There was not the attitude against
yeah.
drunk driving that we have today.
I'm
There was
so
a
glad you
massive
said that.
cultural shift kind of around this time.
I'm so glad you picked up on that because that was what I was about to say. And actually something similar to that, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. You don't hear a lot about them anymore because they've kind of won. Nobody really like drunk driving is something that still happens, obviously, but it's not like I don't even want to say cool. It's not accepted as much. So
Yes.
Mothers Against Drunk Driving, a lot of their quite a few people from who were mothers or sisters of or survivors of this accident, from this accident went on to become fairly high-ranking level members of MAD, both locally and nationwide, and sort of crusaded against it. Like the guy a couple slides back with the replica bus, he uses it an anti-drunk driving platform as well, because that was the attitude. Like again, what you were saying, Larry's friend took his keys away, not out of any desire to see like Larry, you could hurt somebody, but like Larry, you're gonna get arrested and you might lose your job again.
Yes.
But
Yes. It was not a motivation of harm. Of harm to others. It was, man, come on, you're gonna get arrested for that.
like it's just something that was like I'm sure we've all laughed at the videos of local news reporters shoving microphones in people's face and saying, "What do you think about the new drunk driving laws?" And people saying, "Well, you can't have a beer now on the drive home from a hard day at work." It's like up until then it was legal. It might have been
It was
social.
normal.
It might have been socially harmful, but so were a lot of things. I mean, at some point it was socially acceptable to beat your wife. It's not anymore.
I, I am so happy that you mentioned local news shoving a mic in people's faces and asking about that, because my local news station a couple of years ago published a video on YouTube that was a scan of footage they had of exactly that, and
I
there were a
have
bunch of
I
people that were so mad about that.
was
And then
one
there
of
was
them
like one person going, "Well, yeah, of course we shouldn't be driving drunk. What's the big deal?
was one
Do
of
the right
was
thing, and you're not going to break the law."
was one of these people a woman with like two kids in the car with her by any chance who was mad about
Yeah,
this?
okay, you've seen it. You've
It's
seen it.
that
Yeah,
video. It's that video.
yeah. That was WFAA Dallas.
Oh my god. So yeah, it's that exact video. So yeah, the that's exactly what it was. Is it's just like
Now,
at, at a certain
do you,
point,
do you do you remember that those two kids in the back seat did not have child seats at all, and I don't think they were even buckled in?
nope, they did not have them at all. I thought the kids were in the front seat. I thought the kid,
At least one was, if I remember correctly. I
yeah.
was trying to find it again, but I can't.
But yeah, no, it's at a certain point things just stop being normalized. Unfortunately, it takes a while. Like I'm sure I'm like god, cigarettes for the longest time were normal and now they're not. But it's a long.
Oh, children today will never know the struggle of being asked smoking or non when you go to a restaurant and still ending up in the smoking section because the smoking section doesn't care about your arbitrary divisions.
My favorite fact is that apparently in a lot of jurisdictions where smoking bans were enforced, resistance to the smoking ban, it lasted exactly 1 month in most restaurants, at which point people could start to notice that it didn't smell like shit in the restaurant anymore. Because that's how long
Yeah.
it took for the smell to fade from the seats.
Yeah.
But but yeah, and then on a similar note to like different penalties and stuff, like as this is something I didn't really include in here, and I should probably look up the exact thing before I start running my damn mouth, but how long do you think Larry Wayne Mahoney actually spent in jail for killing 27 people? All from because by the way, just so that we make it's clear, I don't think I mentioned it. Larry Mahoney woke up in the hospital the next morning and then found out that he'd killed 27 people. So
Oh my god.
Like I struggled, like, obviously, we wanna say that, like, he should have died in the collision or something, it's a shame he didn't die, but, like, this poor fuck was so bl
16 years. He got 16 years for killing 27 people.
yeah, and he is actually, like I'm honestly since I've been reading about this, I've been drawn back to, that one Star Trek episode where they find, like, the guy who has the powers of a god living on the planet by himself with, like, the projection of his wife. You know which one I'm talking about? And then
Yes. Oh, it's been a while, but
and he
I've seen
erased
it.
the entire species that killed his wife from existence, and Picard just tells him, "We have no punishment to fit your crime." That's what I've been kind of thinking the entire time, because as much as we wanna, like, say that, like, you're a bad person for drunk driving, really at this time, the social norms did not prohibit this in the same way that it might now. He clearly had no intent on doing it, and so he deserves some sort of punishment, but really he does not have he didn't mean for it to happen like this. I'm sure that and that it's actually one of the really interesting things. A lot of the families of the victims, because they're all from a Christian church, have actually forgiven him because it's not in them to be like it. You know, they're I guess I want to say old style Christians who actually can know forgiveness and not be full of hate all the time. But they
The the whole situation seems to be definitely a product of its time.
yeah
And it the cultural feeling at the time was that what Larry was doing wasn't, or at least what he said he was going to do, wasn't that bad. You know, just drive home. It's not that far from the bar to where they thought that he was going to go. And apparently he decided to go back to his ex wife's house and maybe changed his mind once or twice and flipped around, ended up driving the wrong way down the freeway. And really, it there is blame. Today, this guy would be in prison forever, if not executed. I mean, let's be frank. We live in a very vindictive society, and
yeah like
he would be practically crucified for
yeah
this.
he,
And but back
he
then, it's like he wasn't raised in the culture of drunk driving is bad.
yeah he really wasn't like he actually apparently he was a model prisoner in jail. He got his GED, regularly attended AA. He got they actually he declined parole. And they gave him, like, good time anyways, and he got out after 9.5 years, and he has
Yeah,
apparently been living in, like, self-imposed isolation near Carrollton to this day. Like, which
dude, that's
I'll be a
heavy to live with,
I'll
though.
be 110%. If I were this guy, I would have changed my name. I would have moved to, like, Venezuela. I would never have like come or like if you can't get a passport because you've done something like this, I would have gotten in my car and just kept on driving until I ran out of road and just never
I
come.
certainly would not have lived close enough to where this happened that it's not unreasonable that I would have to go over that spot
Yeah,
several
with
times.
the sign that
Yeah.
says,
Oh, fuck the sign. He has to look at that sign, dude. Holy shit.
but that's sort of what I mean, like, there is no punishment to fit your crime. I mean, you the only person capable of adequately punishing Larry Wayne Mahoney is Larry Wayne Mahoney, and he's done that. He's doing that. He's gonna be doing that for, like,
Yeah,
the
to
rest of
be
his
fair, he is taking he seems to be taking this pretty seriously.
Yeah, he as of 2003, he was living in quiet, self-imposed obscurity in rural Owen County, Kentucky, about 10 miles from the crash site. I would not be in the same time zone at that stage.
No.
I would be like
Oh my god, no.
I would be like, well, I would have changed my name to something in Spanish and moved to, like, Guam. You'd never see me again. Like, what's the furthest away from here I can go? And so and just never come back. But
Yeah, how
I
far can I legally get away from here?
yeah,
Which
but
corner of the US is farthest from Carrollton, Kentucky?
Alaska, probably.
Ooh.
Just like, congrats, he's the town hermit of Nome or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I can't imagine living with this.
But
That's
yeah, I mean, in some ways,
mm.
he's as much of a victim of this as anybody else, because it's like, I mean, I don't know how else to say it without sounding like I don't know how to say it. It's just that, like, he don't drink and drive, kids, but also, God, it's the permissive society that he was allowed to exist in.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely no writing off his actions. We're not giving him a pass on it, just trying to understand. I want you all to understand that this guy was not raised with the same moral code that most of us were.
yeah,
And I mean, I'm sure we'll have older listeners who understand exactly what we're talking about.
and and so yeah, he's just it it's a hell of a thing to say, but because, like, it would be completely different if this were, like, now. If this happened nowadays, we'd be, like, screaming for this guy to be crucified in the streets because he
Yeah.
should know better, but
Yeah.
he didn't. He couldn't have. Like, this is a guy who
No,
didn't even get the
those
chance to finish
resources weren't available to him.
he didn't even get the chance to finish high school, for God's sake, and that's another thing, which is that, like, as much as we all wanna, like, shit on the fact that, like, you need a preponderance of education just to get a job in McDonald's nowadays, most places don't hire you unless you have a high school education. Most places don't hire, so you kind of have to have at least a little bit of preparatory life experience just to go out the door into society.
Yeah.
And so like, they certainly pushed anti-drunk driving stuff in school, because they didn't teach us much else. They certainly didn't do health class very well, but, what are you gonna do? So it's
Well,
one of these very interesting societal things where it's like, societal norms are the best sort of defense against a thing like this. Because we can legislate against drunk driving all you want, but if you're in financial difficulties and your life's gone down the shitter, you might drink and then drive anyways. But if your entire life has been drinking and driving is bad and it hurts people, you might not. Like, certainly certainly I haven't drunk and drive because of that. Like, you could go to jail, you could hurt somebody, as opposed to, like, if we lived 40 years in the past, you might think differently.
I have, I have walked to the grocery store down a road with no sidewalks and traffic coming by at 40 miles an hour because I got drunk, wanted dinner, and realized that I was missing something and that I was in no shape to drive. But I needed that thing. I really wanted that meal. So off to the grocery store we go on foot. Here we go.
Yeah, it's always something like that. It's like, society has given you the chances to make good choices, as opposed to Larry, who did not have that chance. So make sure
No.
you exercise them. But
So now now we're talking about our experiences with it. So maybe now might be a good time to talk about but did you die?
and let's go on to that next slide. There we go. But did you die? No. So we actually have two different "but did you die" slides. No, school bus fires were rare before this accident, but are almost unheard of now.
At
Basically,
least the really bad ones.
yeah.
And
I will say the NTSB really had to do some searching to find some accidents to compare this against in the accident report when they wrote this one, and the only one they really found that was similar was an empty bus that like got into a traffic accident somewhere and had a similar fire. But that was like about it. So thank God for
so
that.
I decided to take a look at some modern incidents. If we take a look at that next slide, we have two different stories here. A Tennessee school bus was evacuated after a fire sparked on board. All 11 students were evacuated, and then the fire was put out. And there was time to do all of that before the school bus was turned into a crispy hulk of its former self. And we could see that picture there in the top left. Top right, from Prince George, Washington, a school bus caught fire with over a dozen students on board. I don't remember what started both of these fires on the top row, but again, everybody was able to be evacuated because they had number one, multiple emergency evacuation exits, and the bus was not made out of out
Naugahyde.
of material that would just, yeah, they weren't made out of naugahyde. They weren't made out of anything that would just go up in flames and then fill the bus with toxic gas instantly. The the last little bit it comes from, I believe, North Carolina. There was a school bus wreck that it didn't catch on fire, but it prompted a bill requiring more safety features, which was the School Bus Safety Act of 2025. And again, we're coming up on an incident where there are certain things that are being excluded. There's technology available that could make school buses safer that is being excluded from these buses because it costs more. And that's where we get this fantastic quote from Congressman Ralph Norman, who said, quote, every parent wants their child to be safe, but that doesn't mean Washington should be stepping in with more top down mandates. A federal one size fits all approach raises real concerns. Does this apply to just public schools, or are private, charter, and homeschool transportation roped in too? And is there evidence that the provisions in this bill, like automatic braking systems or fire suppression rules, would have actually prevented the recent bus crash referenced? There are questions that must be answered before we pile on more costly regulation and federal overreach. This man is willing to sell your child's safety. Yes, I do agree that it should be clearly defined and determined what is covered by said bill. But if we have the technology available to us to make school bus crashes safer, why are we not requiring that on every single school bus? Because it costs money and that doesn't fit with our capitalistic system.
And I find that especially galling considering all of the extra bloatware they're forcing into cars nowadays
Yeah.
for like half the shit that cars have nowadays are required just because of federal safety mandates, which is why car prices are going up so much. Which I don't let me put it this way. I don't mind, but it does mean that new
Yeah.
cars are
Give me a
becoming
safer car.
increasingly unaffordable to the average consumer. But like wait, does that mean that the school buses aren't doing that? Also, secondary, much less important question, what homeschool has a bus? I that that
So,
that like defeats the purpose of homeschooling.
so no, what he's talking about here, I am familiar with this. There are basically organizations of homeschooled families that will coordinate certain activities together to give their kids a chance to socialize and experience things outside of the home.
That
Your regular your regular classroom training, of course, is done at home. But then if you want to learn like how people lived in the 1860s, well, why don't we go to the log cabin village? Well, that's a little pricey. Why don't we get a whole bunch of people who want to go to the log cabin village and
like
put
a
out
school
your
district?
thing exactly like a school district, except it's just your homeschool group. So do you get on your Facebook group and you tell them it's like, hey, who's interested in doing this? And you all pick a date and a time and you get together. And
What a bunch of fucked up
I
children that
actually,
would be.
oh, dude, holy shit. So I actually don't know about the school bus part of that for homeschool kids. The few times I have encountered these groups out in the wild, it's usually just like all the parents just all drive their kids to the place and they all go together in their cars and meet up at the place. But I mean, I guess they could charter a bus if they wanted to, if it was somewhere
Yeah.
farther away, or maybe he's trying to say if you are driving your kid to one of these events in your own personal car, well, now that's a homeschool transportation system, and it doesn't have to meet these requirements. No, let's be fucking real. It doesn't. It doesn't mean you have to meet these requirements. He's just being facetious.
He's
That's
just
all it
yeah.
is.
And does it just apply to public schools or private charter and homeschool transportation? Yeah, I'd fucking like it to. I mean,
I'd really like to. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like automatic braking systems. That well, my fucking car has to have it. So why not?
Yeah. Why? Okay.
I mean,
Public schools, private schools, and charter schools are all to some degree regulated by the federal government. So
yeah,
why are they not, if there's transportation to and from those schools, why are they not held to the same standards?
yeah, and like automatic. A lot of these things, like fucking Volvo, puts them on semi trucks in Europe now. The automatic braking systems and things like that. So it's not impossible. It's just that you don't want to. It's just that it's that you want to give the appearance of being frugal and spendthrift while you do because of whatever fucking stupid ass reason. Because although then again, I'm willing to bet the school bus industry is lobbying for this because fuck, we don't want to deal with that.
No, God, no. Do we want to engineer how to we have to pay engineers to figure out how to work this extra thing in? No, go fuck yourself.
We
And
have to
then we'll have to
retool the
pass those
entire
costs on
line.
to our customers because God forbid that our executives take a slight pay cut.
God, also fucking stupid.
I fucking hate this whole thing where people are pushing back against safety because it costs money.
And no, nothing ever seems to get cheaper either. You'd think at some point they'd just be able to amortize this shit, but no, it never gets any cheaper. Like they've never just like utilized economies of scale.
Well, I think a lot of people take advantage of the fact that it is forced by these bills to justify not lowering prices.
Yeah. Which
And
actually
that's probably something that should be regulated as well.
here's a great
Free market is a scam.
here's a great question for you. In 1977, do you think Ford do you think that the Meade County School District that bought that bus originally was offered a discount for taking delivery of a bus built before the FMVSS requirements were kicked in? Or do you think that Ford just upped the price afterwards?
Oh, I think at that time Ford would have had enough wherewithal to realize that giving a discount because it didn't meet upcoming safety standards was not a good stance to take
You
marketing wise.
you mean
And
Ford
the
in the
publicity
same day?
department,
Oh, this was post Pinto. I'm wondering. I was wondering, when did the Pinto happen? They might have been doing that.
yeah, this they probably realize that not all publicity is good publicity.
Mm-hmm.
You probably shouldn't get caught giving a discount for buying something that's less safe.
Yeah, you get a discount. Yeah, this is the cheaper one. It'll kill you.
It might kill you, but but it's 5 grand less.
Yeah. Call that the Nissan Suru approach. You ever heard of that one?
Jesus Christ, yes.
God.
Oh my god. There's your Wikipedia rabbit hole for tonight, everybody. Go look up the Nissan Suru and look at that whole fucking shit show.
ESURU for those of you who aren't used to the Spanish spelling. But yeah. Do we have anything else right now? Has anyone emailed in a way that they didn't die on public transit?
So as of recording, we just released our second episode 2 days ago. And let's check the inbox here. Spotify login code, confirm your email address for Spotify. Google security alerts when we were both trying to log into the account from two very different locations and made Google wig out. Critical security alert because you got blocked trying to log in that first time. And nope, that's it. Send us some stories. Come on. Yeah, I'm sure one of you has seen a bus that, like, you could hear the rack and pinion steering gear scraping on the ground when it made a hard left turn or something. I want to hear your stories about a safety or lack thereof on public transit. So please email us. The email is in the description for the episode. If you need it out loud, it is syddoywtw@gmail.com. That is the first letter of every word in this podcast title. Somehow you didn't die on your way to work @gmail.com.
Yeah, and if we don't spell it right, you know how to spell it. That's just I've had to look up how to
I was prepared. I was prepared for this. I had this in front of me right now, and I was highlighting each letter as I said it. Because I'm pretty sure I messed it up on the second episode.
I've just started putting it in all caps somewhere just so it counts. Just so it covers it. But yeah, I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else?
The world is not a great place right now, but at least it's slightly better in that drunken driving is actively discouraged.
Yeah, don't drink and
I'm
drive.
glad I live in that timeline.
Yeah, don't drink and drive, don't vape and drive, don't get high on prescription
Whoa,
medication.
whoa, 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 whoa. I need my vape when I'm driving 45 minutes to work every day.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
not vape. I don't weed and drive.
Okay, there we go.
Don't
I'm
weed
good for that. Don't take my vape away.
Don't
I'm going to
weed.
be like those guys that refuse to stop smoking in the restaurants except vaping in my car.
Yeah, it's like it's like instead of secondhand smoke, it's secondhand tangerine smell or whatever it is.
Oh, okay. I do try to. I no, not try. I am concerned with that. I only hotbox the car with vape if it's me in the car. If anybody else is in there, the vape stays in my pocket.
And just imagine you rolling up at work and just you step out of the car like it's fucking Cheech and Chong, like da 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 da
If I
da
time it right, yeah.
da, and it's just like a
And
cloud of
usually,
smoke.
so also lately that has been accompanied by like mid 90s to mid 2000s hip hop. So as soon as I open the door, you hear like snoo, and it does not
Okay,
look
hold
great
on.
for somebody
Your
who
audio cut
has to
out.
get drug
Your
tested.
audio cut out there for like 2 seconds, so all I heard was like the first
Oh,
2 syllables of whatever song that was, and then it just like stopped.
drop it like it's hot. Snoop Dogg's drop it like it's hot while I open the door and the vape cloud rolls out. It does not look great. I know that, but I also know I'm going to pass the piss test, so I don't give a fuck. But that's all I've got for tonight. Thank you all so much for listening. Listen to our slow descent into madness every time we record one of these episodes.
Yep. Alright, have a good one, everyone. Don't drink and drive or do anything
Oh,
else
for the love of
dumb.
God. Yeah, if you're
But
not sober, just let somebody else drive. Get an Uber. We live in the 21st century. You can have a ride at your front door in 15 minutes that'll take you wherever you need to go. The $20 it takes for you to get to the grocery store or whatever is worth it for not killing 27 children.
yeah, and if you need a more pragmatic look at it, it's a lot cheaper than a lawyer bill.
Oh my God. Did you see the it's a lot cheaper than bail. Did you see how much Larry got charged for it?
I did not, no.
$270,000, $10,000 for each child that he killed.
Yeah, Jesus God. Yeah, that's yeah.
$20 Uber is way cheaper than that. But thank you all, everybody. We hope you have a good day, morning, night, evening,
Moving
afternoon. I don't know what it is or when you're
period
listening
of
to this, but we're
period of
glad you
time.
did.
Yeah.
In
Oh,
nondescript period of time. Enjoy it.
yep. Have a good one, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.